30 seconds. Ten seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this December 7th, a day which shall live in infamy. We ask the question, how the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. It's a hump day. Let's get over it together. The first such Wednesday in December. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing well, David. Good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm good. I got some rest. Tuesday morning's always a quick turnaround, and so Tuesday night's a chance to catch up. So I'm glad it was a light sports night. I needed it.
Well, that's the benefit you get. With football ending, Tuesday is usually a little bit of a dead night, albeit college, NBA, NHL going on, but nothing this time of year that's too pressing where you feel like you got to stop everything to watch.
Yeah, first full week of December, there were 3 NBA games last night. It was, a couple of good college games that were on the schedule. There's always a couple of good hockey games that were on the schedule. The Florida teams took it on the chin, home and away. But yeah, it was a night where if you could play hooky from the sports world, it was a decent one to do. I also feel like we're at the point where we can take a little inventory. The college football regular season's over. Fans are already moving on in most cases to the transfer portal. Who we losing? Who we getting? What's going on? I'm exhausted. I can't follow this on a day-to-day basis. Who are these guys? Are they any good? Can we get a quarterback? That's kind of how I feel most college fans, unless, you're Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, TCU. Then you're like, hey, there you go, baby.
That whole inventory of your college team is going to be tougher and tougher to do going forward.
Oh, man. You and I yesterday, didn't we basically make a vow we're not even going to throw a line in the water when it comes? We're like going to sit back for 10 days and let all the fishing and the restocking of lakes and streams go on, and like a week or so, week and a half, maybe we're going to go, do you think we can go fishing now?
I rely 24/7, Bud Elliott's on today. I rely on their transfer portal rankings as much as anything because it is a constant adjustment of what's going on. And this is how if we knew the players even more, could you imagine the college free agency frenzy? I mean, you think about baseball and basketball and football and how the off seasons have become so prevalent, and we live for these free agent signings. Baseball's been going crazy the last few days, whereas the past couple of years, free agency hasn't been all that, crazy for the first part of the free agent season. And here we are with Verlander signing, with Turner signing. There was like 3-4 more yesterday. You still got Judge that's going to get signed. So there's some oxygen to the baseball offseason. There is always oxygen to the football and basketball offseasons.
Yes.
In fact, the NBA offseason to a lot of people is better than the NBA season. No offense to NBA fans. The football has become a 365 sport, and free agency is as big a part of it as any. Well, David, that's what we have in college football now. We just don't know the personnel the same way we know the personnel with the other sports.
And maybe we will start to learn them and know them better. College football, Mark, had a really good year from a television ratings standpoint. It was not that long ago. Do you remember we had Andy Staples on a few years ago, and he had written a column or an article think it was an article because it wasn't an opinion piece. So it was an article about how networks are searching for teams that can produce a $4 million or 4 million viewer game. That's the magic number. Can you get 4 million viewers? That's considered a viable game. And at the time, Mark, there were not a lot of teams that could consistently produce a 4 million viewer game just by them being on it. And Mark, TCU produced some pretty nice rated games this year. TCU produced between 4 and 6 million viewers on multiple games this year.
Well, David, they came from behind in every damn game they played.
True.
They had a television executive's dream season, for the love of Pete.
I understand they're the Horned Frogs, though, Mark. I mean, they are TCU, not USC. You know, TCU. No. And so, I mean, did you see the ratings for the conference championship games? It combined how certain teams have maybe more appeal. Like the Big 12 championship game, Mark, did over 10 million viewers. I mean, that was TCU Kansas State.
Couple of things. It shows you just how good that noon slot's become. That Fox has put a lot of effort, a lot of resources, and a lot of time to make you understand that big noon is big noon. That's the first thing I would say about that. Secondly, it was a terrific game.
Yes, it was. We thought as we're watching it, this game's got meaning. This game has meaning. I mean, we've debated it now for 2 days. When Kansas State was up 11 on 2 occasions, if they had held that, does TCU get in? And if they get in, do they keep their seeding? Or would they have slipped one slot and probably gotten whooped up on in the semis by Georgia? So over 10 million for the Big 12 championship game. TCU K-State, man, if you're the Big 12 commissioner and you're new on the job, which you are, that has got to be better than whatever Christmas present you're going to get from friends and family right there. TCU K-State gives me 10 million viewers in my conference championship game. Mark, you do know that the ACC championship game did 40% of the Big 12 championship game. Prime time on ABC did little over 4 million viewers. But then you also showed the power of the brands. Georgia, 4 o'clock Saturday, a game that had no meaning. Just under 11 million viewers. Number 1 rated game of the weekend. And then Saturday night, Michigan. Come on, there's no meaning to that game. Michigan was in. We all knew Michigan was in, especially after TCU lost. I mean, hell, you couldn't invent a scenario where Michigan wasn't in. 10.5 million viewers. So you had the power of the brands in meaningless games, but then you've also had fans here find teams and go, you know what? I'm going to invest my time in these teams in these games. They interest me. So maybe, Mark, the sport this year, maybe it's growing a little bit.
It is, and for the record, both the SEC and Big Ten championship games were down from their respective games a year ago. The Big Ten just a tick, the SEC quite a bit, but remember who was playing a year ago.
Right, Alabama, Georgia. Alabama needed to win to get in.
So games of consequence move the needle. That's really what this showed. Brands are still powerful, but the fact that TCU had over 10 million viewers shows that the sports fan knows games of consequence. You even go back to, I still think the highest rated soccer game, up until the USA-England game, was a World Cup final of two teams not named USA, obviously.
Correct.
When it's a game of consequence, we typically will find it. And TCU was that, and it looked as if it was going to be even bigger with them down 11 late.
Now, what was interesting was the Pac-12 championship game, the ratings in comparison were not that good. And USC was involved, and it had more consequence of any game of the weekend, you could argue. And it did around 6.5, 7 million viewers. Prime time, a network, the whole deal. Playoff spot on the line, Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback, a big brand in USC. And so, people are now analyzing, what does this mean for the Pac-12 going forward? And also for the Big Ten. Is USC really the draw that the Big Ten thinks they're getting?
I think they are, by the way. I think when you start putting USC up against the brands that are in the Big Ten, I think that'll resonate. The fact that TCU did that number, David, tells me that I really believe it has a lot to do with Fox in the slot. They'd been pushing TCU all year long. TCU had been in a bunch of these games. If you followed college football for 30 minutes, you were aware that TCU had been involved in a boatload of close games, had come from behind a lot, and they'd provided an interesting and exciting kind of football. We don't put USC on television unless it's very late. They did not get very many big slots this year, despite playing in a few big games.
USC will probably get a lot of 3:30 Saturday slots going forward. The joke amongst the CBS crew when they move to the Big Ten is we're all going to need to get apartments out west because we think we're going to do about a half a dozen USC UCLA home games, which will be 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific.
And I think that's a very smart bet. Very smart bet. The other side of TCU is that who was going to benefit if TCU lost?
There you go.
Alabama.
And Ohio State.
And they are the two biggest draws in the sport. So there were some eyeballs tuned in.
Game day was set up at the Big 12 title game. I mean, they did have a lot of outside factors going for them. But, TCU, Kansas State over 10. I mean, to give you any idea, the Big 12 championship game and Monday Night Football, Saints, Bucks, Tom Brady, all right, pretty much the same viewership.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also think, and I know we're pressed for time here, but quickly, I do think college football had such a good viewership year. It's partly why Monday Night Football ratings have started to sag lately, because by Monday, people are more footballed out than they've ever been.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Yeah, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
KW, I've never gotten a knock or a complaint about the how the heck are you. I will say for a couple of years now, I've been asking to try to give me a room where at least one side of me there is no one. But the hotel I was just at didn't do it, even though literally directly across the hall was the room that fit what I asked for. So I try to only have one room on either side of me. I think I'm lucky because I'm usually in really good hotels Monday and Tuesday. So I think that helps. But I also know in the past, I have set up like all the pillows from the bed up against the wall for like soundproofing to try to cushion it for the people next to me. And I forget who was it. Was it Adam? Yeah, the Monday night matchups have not been good. A schedule which looked above average on paper in the summer has just gone bad. I mean, think of it. A week from Monday, I mean, they gave Monday Night Football the Rams at Packers. Think about how good that looked in June. Combine those two teams have what? 8 wins? Spitz, where are you flying from?
Boston.
Is that direct?
That's where he lives, right? Spitz, aren't you in Boston?
Yep. You got it, Mark. Felipe, are you going World Cup or association?
I think I was going to go association, but
Okay. Yeah, well, it fits. I mean, a game winning 3, right?
right.
Yeah. Mark's wife.
That was David's Christmas present when he was living in our studio for 5
Right.
hours a day. No, 4. We were doing 3 hours then. God, that was great.
Yeah. It really was. Maybe one day again. Thank you, Taylor. Are you enriching the youth? Or are you tolerating them? Can be a day-to-day proposition.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? It is December 7th. A very, tragic day in our nation's history. A day that Franklin Delano Roosevelt famously said will live in infamy. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bud Elliott to join us next hour. Seth Everett in our 8 o'clock hour. Mark, only one team claimed Baker Mayfield. Only one.
But it was the Rams, not the Niners. It didn't get that far, didn't give them the opportunity to claim.
Well, they could have claimed him, though. Okay, everybody puts in a claim, and then they just see who gets him. Apparently, the Rams were the only team that put in a claim.
And they play Thursday this week, right?
Yeah, they sent him to the playbook. They indicated there's a chance he could see action. I know you can't say this if you're Baker, but you're like, come on, guys. We're seriously get the playbook Tuesday, late afternoon. Hey, come on. Don't throw me in there. I've gone through enough here in the last year. Could you give me a week?
Listen to a few NFL players say that if it were Sunday, there's a chance. If it were a Sunday game, that there is a chance that they could have a packages in there enough to maybe get something going. But anybody who I've found that's a credible person covering football says this is an impossible ask.
Vinny Testaverde was having breakfast at his house on a Wednesday when the Carolina Panthers called and said, you think you can get on a plane to Charlotte and play Sunday? But, 20 damn years in the league and what have you. And he's like, yeah, sure. Let me finish my Wheaties and, I'll see you this afternoon. And he played and won. But I don't want to overanalyze the 3-car funeral here, but can I overanalyze the Baker Mayfield situation? Do you think this has anything to do with maybe Matthew Stafford's health and future is not what we think it is?
I guess.
The two concussions right on top of one another. And do you think maybe the Rams are concerned? The elbow, he went on the IR officially for a back. Concussions. Do you think it's possible that maybe the Rams are more concerned about Matthew Stafford 2023 moving forward than most of the talking heads are, they're not quite on the scent of this storyline, if you know what I mean.
It's either that or, believe it or not, it's a cheap insurance package to see if this guy can play, because in the grand scheme of things, $1.3 million on what their salary cap is chump change. To most of us, we think, oh my gosh, that's an extensive amount of money. It's nothing. To find out if you've got an insurance policy, and if David's right, then it's more than that. Then you really spend some money wisely to see if this works.
We didn't think of the Rams as a destination, not just for the rest of 2022, but for a place that if you're Baker Mayfield, let's face it, you're now entering backup quarterback world. Your hope one day is to pull off a Geno Smith and to get back and be a starting quarterback. But you're now going to enter, don't you agree, Mark? Baker Mayfield going forward is now a backup quarterback.
100%.
So if we're representing him, where are the situations we want to put him? You and I wanted to put him in Tampa. We wanted to engineer his release from Cleveland and to go to Tampa and say, I know you invested a second-round pick in this Kyle Trask, but I don't know. It looks like you're not overly thrilled. And, I mean, I don't want to disparage your current backup, but his name is Blaine Gabbert. So what do you say? And I'm willing to stay here and back up Tom as long as Tom wants to play. And then I'd kind of like to be the guy. I'm willing to do what Jameis did in New Orleans.
And that was really the crux of it. Can Baker go be Jameis somewhere for a year and rehabilitate his reputation, his career, and find out if he can start somewhere in the future? But he went to Carolina and threw more gasoline on the fire that puts him where David had just mentioned into the I'm a backup.
So now if you're the Rams, you got this, John Wolford guy who actually started a playoff game for you a couple of years ago. But he can't stay healthy. Every time you put him on the field, he gets hurt within a game. This third stringer you threw in there, Bryce Hopkins or whatever, that doesn't look like that's got a chance. And so if you're the Rams, first off, let's just assume Stafford's coming back healthy 2023. And you know what? His body may need this after taking a pounding for 14 years. His body may need this respite. If you're the Rams, you could argue we need a better backup quarterback. Baker Mayfield would certainly be that, right, Mark?
100%.
And in theory, Rams get healthy. They're going to have better draft pick position. Yes, they're not going to have a first rounder, but right now they're going to be in the top 5 of rounds 2 through 7. Now, they don't have picks in every round 2 through 7, but, just work with me here. That if you're Baker, you're going to be on a playoff team in the NFC next year. Knock on wood. Not a bad situation, right? I mean, backing up Matthew Stafford, you got a really good head coach who can call good plays. I mean, got Cooper Kupp and other people around you.
And you can maybe learn a little bit from Matt Stafford. Because things didn't always go well. I mean, there was a whole career in Detroit that didn't go well, that he would have to understand and reflect upon what it is to get through, what it is to put the work in every day, even though when your team's not good. I actually think Baker Mayfield could learn a lot from Matt Stafford, because Matt Stafford had to learn had to develop a work ethic. If you remember early in his career, there were the pictures of him in the offseason partying where he looked a little chunky and a little fat. He had to tune it up a little bit.
And think of the stories that Baker and Matt's wives Detroit stories versus Cleveland stories. I mean, that's a good, 2-hour dinner right there.
Or at least a podcast.
Well played. So, when I heard it, I went, I'll be damned. Then the more I thought about it, I'm like, maybe there are some tentacles to this. I don't know about legs, but maybe some tentacles to this. This might not be the craziest thing I've heard this week. Might be some there. So, but if I'm Baker, I'm like, oh, come on, man. Don't make me play Thursday, for goodness sakes. Come on. Just help me out. Throw a friend a bone, will you? Could you give me till the following Sunday, please?
Would be something if he plays. I don't think that he will. I just Not in this league. This isn't a hockey game where I'm throwing a left winger out there and saying, here's what the forecheck is, here's what the power play looks like, and you're not playing on the penalty kill. I mean, this is the National Football League and quarterback.
Will be awkward when he's calling out a play and he's got them telling him what it is.
Right. Running back telling him, no, I need to be on this side of you.
Right. No,
Baker, I'm telling you, I'm on the right side here. I promise you.
Move the tight end over. We're going to the right.
Miller and Moulton. We're heading right to the starting five. It is on the other side. But Elliott in a little more than an hour right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. So Golf Digest has this tweet. Which one would you take? A 3-footer for $50,000, a 5-footer for $100,000, a 10-footer for $250,000, a 20-footer for $1 million, or a 50-footer for $5 million. You get one putt.
I'd do either the 3-footer or the 5-footer. I'll just take my cash. Thank you.
The Athletic has an article where they graded every team. Do we want to give grades to Florida teams in the 7? College teams?
Yeah. Absolutely. Klecko, are you really celebrating Morocco? I mean,
Yeah, that sucks to me.
Although Spain couldn't get anything on net.
Are we through now to the quarters? Was that it? Or is there more?
That's it. No, that's it. In fact, we don't have World Cup till Friday.
Perfect. The round of 16 didn't do much for me. There weren't a lot. I mean, there weren't matches that I got all excited about. Whereas this round of 8, there are some really intriguing matches.
Well, and the semis could be just. I mean, Brazil and Portugal are both heavily favored to win their quarters to play each other in the semis. Argentina is heavily favored, and Argentina will play the winner of France-England.
Right.
I mean, the semis and finals here. How about England? They're going to have to go through France, most likely Argentina, and then most likely Brazil. Nick Klecko, I think officially it was 3-0.
It was.
How about that though? I mean, what was it? Just was it Croatia, Japan there? Japan missed 3 out of 4 penalties. Spain misses all 3 of their penalties. And wow. I know. We may hardly see Ronaldo again.
10 seconds. There we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. But Elliott, 1 hour from now. Seth Everett, 2 hours from now, here on this Hump Day edition. Right now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
not a huge sports day and night yesterday. A chance to kind of catch your breath from a exhilarating NFL Week 13 and also conference championship weekend in college football. Baker Mayfield claimed by just one team, the LA Rams. And they already sent him the playbook, and they said there's a chance he'll even play tomorrow night when the Rams and the Raiders get it on. Don't do that to Baker. Come on. You want to start him the final 4 games of the year, fine. But come on. Give me a break. The Niners got some good news. Jimmy G doesn't have a Liz Frank injury. He does have a broken foot. But because he doesn't have a Liz Frank injury, they say the foot's going to need 7 to 8 weeks. Can we do the math? They're 8-4, right, Mark?
Yes.
So they got 5 more games, and then week 6 would be a first-round playoff game. 7 to 8 weeks. Does Jimmy G return for the divisional round? Right now, the Niners are a 3 seed. Now, we talked about it. Right now, they have a great draw. They would get the Giants at home in a first-round playoff game. We think they could win that with Brock Purdy. But then for the divisional round, right now, according to seeding, they would go to Minnesota. Needless to say, they would much rather have Jimmy G than Brock Purdy.
They play the Bucks this week. Short week at Seattle on a Thursday. Home for Washington, at the Raiders, home for the Cardinals is the rest of San Francisco's schedule.
But Jimmy G could return in 7 to 8 weeks, so there's a chance that he shows up midway through the playoffs. Talk about a surprise. Tennessee Titans in February gave John Robinson, their general manager, a lengthy contract extension, along with Mike Vrabel as head coach. And the owner talked about how the two of them were going to be joined at the hip and lead this franchise into the future. That was February. A few things have happened since. Remember, they didn't re-sign A.J. Brown. John Robinson said we couldn't sign him. And then on the draft, they traded him for a first-round pick to the Eagles. Yeah, well, they just went to Philly last weekend and got beat 35-10 by the Eagles. You may remember 3 drafts ago, the Titans also, late in the first round, drafted this Isaiah Wilson lineman from Georgia. And he played 1 game for them and basically is out of the league. So it was a waste of a first-round pick. Half a round later, the Eagles took this quarterback named Jalen Hurts. So, Mark, a lot of people think that the owner in Nashville watched the Eagles destroy the Titans and are like, well, we could have Jalen Hurts instead of Ryan Tannehill, and how come we didn't pay to keep A.J. Brown again? Seriously? You told me
he's just been a beast this year, too.
Right.
I mean, not just in the game against the Titans. He's been a beast this year.
So, that's what people, because, the ownership just released a boilerplate press release. We thank him for his service, wish he and his family all the best, but didn't really say why. So, there you go. The assistant GM is going to finish out the year. So, Odell is done with his 2-day stay in Dallas. What was interesting was, leading into Odell coming, it was nothing but, red carpet and flowers. And then the minute he leaves, Jarrah goes and does his weekly radio thing and basically sounds like, I don't know. I got a pair of white walls I got to put on the car, and, we'll I don't know, maybe we'll circle back. I mean, it was very interesting, the public reaction that the Cowboys had after the visit versus how public they were, players in front office, for 10 days leading up to the visit. Read into it what you will. Lamar Jackson, good news. He has a PCL sprain in his left knee. It's considered a week-to-week deal. That's being optimistic. If you look at players who have had this injury, it's a 2 to 3 week deal. So he misses this week. Then it's 2 weeks until. So does Lamar only miss 1 game? It looks like the debate will be, will he miss 1 or miss 2? Ravens and Bengals tied atop the North at 8-4. College football news. Listen, we're trying to find one interesting story for you a day, because there are 138 stories in the transfer portal every day. Today's interesting tidbit is West Virginia quarterback TJ Daniels. Remember him? See, he was going to be USC savior. Then he was at the beginning of last season. Look it up. In August of 2021, he was the preseason favorite for the Heisman Trophy. because he was the starting quarterback at Georgia. Just last year. He went 3-0 as their quarterback, but he got hurt. And this 47-year-old Stetson Bennett took his place. And they haven't lost a regular season game since. So he goes to West Virginia, and he's chucking it all over the lot. He's doing really well. But their defense is terrible, and they basically go to him and say, listen, we got to start running the ball a lot because our defense is horrible. We got to slow these games down. He gets hurt. They put in a guy, and anyway, he loses his job, even though he's got great stats. So he's 22 years old. He's transferring. He's got at least 1 year, 2 if he wants it, of eligibility. But Mark, TJ Daniels has started games in the Pac-12, the SEC, and the Big 12, and he's got 2 more years of eligibility.
Well, I mean, the ACC and the Big Ten seem to be where he needs to go. He's got to finish this sucker out right.
Listen, I mention it because the Gators need a quarterback.
Yes, they do.
And, who knows whether or not Hartman there from Wake Forest is going to go pro or so. By the way, he's playing in the bowl game for Wake. Interesting. Barry Odom is the new head coach of UNLV. Some feel that the Pac-12 actually should bring UNLV in. That,
Vegas is the place. I mean,
and it looks like a reach now, but think about it, likely to become a 4 pro sports town. They get to play in the Raiders Stadium. And so former head coach of Missouri has been the defense coordinator in Arkansas the last 3 years. Jim Leonard decided he's going to leave Wisconsin after the bowl game. If you remember when Luke Fickell was interim head coach at Ohio State and they didn't give him the job, they gave it to Urban Meyer, he stayed. And so Fickell was talking to Leonard, and I think, though, Fickell wants to bring in his own defensive coordinator. And then Leonard's like, it's probably best if I move on. I'll tell you what, there's talk that Alabama's going to have 2 new coordinators. If you're Nick Saban, how about Jim Leonard as defensive coordinator and Dan Mullen as offensive coordinator? What do you say? Can I sell you on that, Mark?
Hey, it's where all former coaches go to rehabilitate their careers.
There you go. Major League Baseball. You remember one of the ingredients of the CBA was the players wanted to incentivize trying to win so that the team with the worst record is not guaranteed the number 1 spot in the draft lottery. So they had the first draft lottery last night in baseball. The Pirates won it. But, a couple teams like Washington second, Detroit's third, Texas fourth, Minnesota fifth. Think about that. Twins contended all year. They have the 5th pick of the draft. Oakland sixth. Oakland was the one that got hosed. They had as good a chance as the number 1 pick as anybody, and they finished 6th. Then they ranked 7 through the rest based on how it is you actually did last year. Cubs signed former Yankee righty Jameson Taillon, 4 years, $68 million. And Phillies signed Tejon Walker, who was most recently with the Mets, 4 years, $72 million. They also shelled out $15 million over 2 years for a lefty reliever, Matt Strahm. NBA, 3 games last night. Heat lost at home to the Pistons by 20.
Explain that one.
Yeah. Outscored by 15 points in the 4th quarter. Tyler Hero with 34. No Jimmy Butler. But Detroit came into Miami with a 6-19 record and beat them by 20. That's going to go over well.
No Cade Cunningham either.
AD was sick. He only played 8 minutes. LeBron had 21 points, 17 rebounds, but outplayed by Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland. Cavs beat the Lakers by 14. Dallas edged Denver 116-115. College hoops last night, Mark. Some ranked games to tell you about. First of all, number 1 Houston played UNF. Was the only Florida school in action last night. They beat them by 34. A good one in the Jimmy V Classic. Illinois upset Texas 85-78 in overtime. And Maryland was unbeaten, but Wisconsin took care of that, 64-59. Women's hoops, Florida and FAU, both big winners last night. NHL, a bunch of games. I'll tell you about 4 of them. Lightning lost at home to the Wings, 4-2. Detroit's sniffing around the playoffs, Mark.
They are a wild card team if the season ended today.
And we told you, I mean, you got to be a degenerate to bet hockey, but we told you, take Winnipeg at home. They were the underdog against the Panthers. Winnipeg's actually been better than Florida this year. And sure enough, Winnipeg beat them 5-2. Devils shut out Chicago 3-0. And Sidney Crosby scored 2 more goals as the Penguins beat the Blue Jackets 4-1. One hockey note, Nathan McKinnon's out a month with what's being called an upper body injury. He fired a shot in a game the other day and kind of grabbed his side. So that's all the Avs are telling us, upper body injury, but they say he's out at least a month.
This isn't the playoffs. Can't we figure out what the injury is for crying out loud?
Thank you. World Cup yesterday, Ronaldo was benched. He was benched for a young guy, Goncalo Ramos. Yeah, he scored a hat trick. Portugal 6-1 over Switzerland. Ronaldo got it in the last 20 minutes. He actually scored. They said it was offsides. And then Morocco advanced against Spain, which is considered a shocker. No scoring in the match. 0-0. So it went to penalties. Spain missed all 3 of their penalties. Morocco won 3-0. There's no World Cup till Friday. There are 3 heavy favorites to advance to the semis: Argentina, Brazil, and Portugal. And if those 3 get through in the quarters, Argentina will face the winner of France and England. The World Cup has a chance to have a spectacular semis and finals. And at 8 minutes before the hour mark, that was
the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So a lot of bullet points, I think, in the sports world yesterday, but no huge headline.
No, the Baker Mayfield playing Thursday is the one that, from a headline standpoint, grabs me the most because it just seems so outrageous that you can be cut, picked up, and be told, here's the playbook. We need you on Thursday.
And I mean, he's not getting a full practice with him. I mean, today's going to be a walkthrough, for goodness sakes.
Right. He'll get a walkthrough as the number 2 or number 3 quarterback and perhaps going to play tomorrow. That is just mind-boggling to me. Well, put it this way, David, I had no interest in Thursday Night Football. Now I have a little.
I mean, at least it's a home game, Mark. He doesn't have the short plane ride to Vegas. Vegas is 6-point favorite on the road. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Would you ever trade Cooper Kupp for first round picks you're the Rams?
Not next year. I want to bring the band back together healthy and see what we can do next year. Now, if midway through next season, it's like, damn, we're not good anymore. Well, then.
And I know you're thinking a Kansas City thing. The difference was they had a Kelsey in Kansas City.
That is true.
They don't have a Kelsey in L.A.
Yeah.
They don't have anything
No.
other than a Cooper Cup.
Specs. That's what I'm saying. Is the band really the band anymore? 10 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And it's hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this hump day. It happens to be a December 7th, the day that will live in our nation's infamy. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bud Elliott to join us coming up in about 35 minutes' time. Seth Everett will make his weekly appearance next hour. Kicking it around on this hump day, it's kind of where we are, at least in, the football landscape anyway. The college football regular season all but over. Army-Navy Saturday puts it to bed. Bowls start in a week and a half. Early signing period mark is a week from today, and the transfer portal is alive and well.
It really is right out of Star Trek. I mean, the portal is something from outer space. It has come at us quickly. We don't really understand it.
Never mind the NIL, and we understand we're paying players. They're supposed to be doing something for this money. We think what they're really doing is playing football. And, some schools are able to do it better than others. Right. Mm-hmm.
And you started the show out today that today's kind of a good day to take inventory.
Yeah.
And then during one of the commercial breaks, for those of you that are listening on the radio, wherever you are, by the way, you can text to the show. 21,000 is the number, 21,000. If you've never texted before, you need the keyword FSN radio, all one word, FSN radio. Once you do that, you're in. And in our Twitch chat room, it's lively. It's a continuous discussion going on with the folks that are in there. And one of them that was in watching on Facebook as well, because you can watch this on Facebook, commented about enriching young minds. Proving, saying that he was a teacher.
History teacher, he said.
Right. And combining inventory with the teacher, I'd like to pass out some grades today.
Look at you. Okay. I'm intrigued.
And I just want to do it for the four Florida football teams, the 4 collegiate football teams, of what grades we would give Florida, Florida State, Miami, and UCF. Let's face it, South Florida gets an incomplete.
Well,
they're going to have to take this class over again.
Well, okay. Is that what firing your coach and bringing in a new one means, or is that an F?
It's really an F. I was just being nice.
I know. You know what though? I would give them a D, because if you can be a competitive 1-11, I felt South Florida was a competitive 1-11.
Yeah, I'm giving him an F.
Okay. And I'm usually a tough grader, but for whatever reason, but you make a dadgum good point. They really are making up the year. That's where they're at. They really should make up 8th grade.
With an in-season firing of a coach, it's like dropping the class in college. You're going to have to take it again. You had to pay for this class. It just doesn't reflect on your total GPA, if you know what I mean.
Well, in 8th grade is the last year of middle school. I mean, are they really ready for high school? I based on last year, no. We get a new teacher, we give algebra another try, and then maybe you're ready for geometry and what have you. Okay.
But let's start with the Knights. What grade would you give them this year?
I would be tougher on the Knights than like Matt Baker was when we had him on Monday. When I said to him, most Knights fans that we hear from are kind of giving this 9-4 season like a C+, B- at best. And he's like, well, they're crazy. Well, I'm with them. I'm sorry. Name me, they won at Tulane. They beat Cincinnati. They backed into the conference championship game. And then they lost it. The big home games. I mean, they beat Cincinnati, but the non-conference game they didn't win.
It's the losses that are stunning.
Yeah.
The Louisville loss, fine. But East Carolina, they completely laid an egg in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And then they lost to Navy in that early start game.
When they could have hosted the conference championship game if they had beaten Navy. So I'll give a B-.
And I'll give them a B. They did make the conference championship game after all. And I can't give a team a below B grade for making their conference championship.
All right. When you were growing up, to me, A is excellent. Great/excellent. B is good. That's why a B+ to me is very good. All right. C is average. So to me, C+ B- is they were slightly above average.
And I'm giving them a B because they were good. They went to the conference championship game. I'm sorry, only 2 teams get to go. They beat Cincinnati.
Okay.
That's all.
Yep. I'm going B-.
And you are your B- is like we're probably giving them the same grade, David, because your B- is like an 84, where my B is an 84.
Well, correct.
You went in that hole. Apparently, Jersey had the toughest grading scales of any state in the union. You had to get a 97 to get an A, apparently.
It was not true. You had to get a 93 to get an A. You had to get an 85 to get a B. All right. I will say the C scale went low. You could get a 75, I believe, and get a C. 70 through 74, I believe, was D. And anything below a 70 was an F.
What the hell was a C-? You didn't do those. C- 70 to 73 is your C-. D.
No, it was a D.
D's in the 60s.
No, that's an F.
65 was a D. Anything below that's an F.
Well, I'm glad we let everybody know with the grading scale that we're coming from here. So you're probably right. We're each giving UCF like an 84, and I'm barely letting them call that a B-.
All right. Ufta. The Canes.
Oh, wow. D. And
I don't know how you can give them anything more than that.
Right.
You might be able to give them a D-.
And I'm only giving them a D because they brought in a new AD and a new coach, and I believe in both of them. But actually, if I'm only allowed to grade them on what they produced from September 1st to December 1st, I'd give them an F. I mean, to not be bowl eligible.
When you were picked to win your side preseason and you're not even bowl eligible. In fact, I'm sorry, they do get an F. That's a failing year. And I believe in the coach. I believe in what they're doing, and I do think they'll turn it around. I think by year 3, we're going to be giving this team a B, maybe even a B+, because I know that he can recruit.
I also think I can draw some positives in. This year certainly helps you, weed out what you need to weed out. I'm going to be generous. I'll give him a D. I may do the ultimate insult, Mark, the D-, when the teacher basically lets you know you suck. Okay. And I really should give you an F, but I'm going to give you a D-. And this is your mulligan. Next time it's what.
I got one of those. I got a D- in 4th grade in science from Mrs. McKenzie. My father was not happy. Needless to say, it was the last D- that that I ever received in my life.
I received a D+ once. And I remember going in and discussing with Mr. Onder, what is this? A D+. All right. I mean, come on. And he's like, well, you were a point away from the C scale. So I was trying to make you feel better. I gave you a plus. I go, that's ridiculous. That's fourth grade.
Me too. Miss McKenzie, fourth grade. I didn't discuss it with her. I tried to hide the report card. So, because the parents had to sign the report cards. And it was the third quarter. I faked a sickness because my parents were leaving for vacation that day. So I got to delay the report card by 2 weeks. Then I acted like I didn't get the report card until the day that it was basically due back at school. And I left it out at home and hid in my room. And my dad, who came home at 4:15 from a day at the factory, saw that report card there and started yelling out the door for me to come home. And I went, oh, no, this is not going to be good.
No.
That's kind of how the Canes feel right now, getting called into the room.
So you never tried to fake, the signature. You never did that.
In fourth grade, I never even contemplated faking. By the time I was in high school, I had my dad's signature down. Anytime I got a detention in high school, I just signed that sucker, hand it back in, and no one was the wiser.
My mom's
until my dad got called in on a Saturday for too many detentions.
I'm sure that went over well. My mom's left-handed. I'm right-handed. I couldn't do her signature. I tried it because, a few report cards I didn't want her to see also. And I'm trying on a piece of paper to do her signature. And I'm like, nah, this is going to be too obvious. I got to just take my verbal lashing.
I had gotten so good at my father's signature that I signed the taxes for our family in both my junior and senior years in high school. It's not a joke. My mom's like, I forgot to have your dad sign this. Will you? What is it? It's our IRS forms. Frederick J. Miller had that thing, and he was lefty too, but it was a very up and down, very straight lines, was easy for me to pull off, and was able to forge the dad's signature, well, on many an item.
All right. Gators and Knowles.
With the Gators, they had so many different seasons within their season, but I can't give them much better than a D+.
It's funny. I was going to go C-, maybe C, because they beat Utah, who ended up being the Pac-12 champions. So I'll give them a C. But it's the same year as last year, 6-6. Dan went 6-6 last year, and then they were an absolute mess heading into their bowl game. I mean, it's deja vu all over for the Gators.
Right. They beat Utah, but they lost to Vanderbilt.
Correct.
That does take away strength of victory in my eyes.
Lost to Tennessee, lost to Florida State, lost to Georgia. Is there a win that a Gator fan's really happy about?
Beat down to South Carolina looks a lot better now.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
When we come back, we'll go to the head of the class because the bad grades have been given. We still have some good grades or a good grade to give out. That's next on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, DC PJ Flex, somewhere between a fraud and a car salesman. So it's going to be what it's going to be. Yeah, Klecko, we threw that out there for the Gators to go after JT Daniels.
How many times? I thought they only could. Why can he transfer again?
I think he's
Injury?
a graduate. I think he's a graduate.
How many times can you transfer?
Well, that's a good question.
I thought it was once and then a grad transfer, so you could get away with 2.
I think COVID gave everybody an extra.
Gave him an extra transfer? Okay. I'm so confused. Would you, Klecko? I don't know if I'd want DJ. I don't think he's any good.
Okay, here's what happened. Up until this past year, Mark, that was the rule. You could transfer once as an undergrad, and then you could transfer once you become a grad. Okay. But the Division I Council recommended eliminating the restriction.
Justin Jefferson is overrated, Q? That's an interesting take.
I think Justin Jefferson has the most yards in his first 3 seasons of a career, like in NFL history.
Right. And Tyreek Hill's my favorite receiver because he's just so damn fast.
Tyreek Hill is incredible. You just give him the ball and just see what happens. He's a playmaker.
The council endorsed a concept that would eliminate the blanket rule prohibiting transferring more than once. It would implement transfer portal entry windows or periods of time in which student athletes must provide their school with written notification of transfer to be eligible to compete immediately the following academic year.
So there are no rules.
So right now,
no, Arch, it's a hell of a point.
Justin Jefferson is overrated. I don't know about that.
I think Tyreek Hill might be my favorite Dolphin of all time. It hasn't even been a year.
Well, considering your age, you haven't seen anything like him.
Nope.
You know, you weren't around for Duper and Clayton, and even when they won under Jimmy and Dave, they didn't have a guy like Tyreek. They won with defense.
I liked Ricky Williams growing up.
Oh, exactly.
Got a couple of. I got a text to read.
Okay.
I got a couple of texts
You
to
got
read.
15 seconds.
Thank you, Q. I am with you, Q, about I am surprised that they are not, Cousins doesn't look for Thielen more.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bud Elliott to join us in a little less than 20 minutes. We'll talk everything going on in the world of college football, his thought about who's in the playoff, who was left out. And Bud Elliott does a daily portal tracker. And I don't know if anybody does it better than Bud in 24/7 Sports. So we'll go there. Are we going to cannonball into the deep end with Bud, or are we just going to slowly swim our way from the shallow end to the deeper end?
We're gonna wade into the
Okay.
pool, David. I don't think I can't just cannonball in right now. There's still too much actual football to be played.
I don't know about you, Mark, but I'm fat. So when I wade, it's still, the wave is still significant.
No, I know when that belly hits the water, it makes a significant push.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. All right. Don't we have to give the Knowles a grade?
We do. And I'm torn on this one because I want to grade them a little higher than maybe they deserve to be graded. But I think I would give them a B+.
Oh, I don't think that's going high.
Well, I was torn of giving them an A-, but I'm going to give them a B+ because without, playing in a conference championship game, I'm a little reluctant to give the A's, but they overachieved this year.
Okay.
And they are deserving of an A grade, but I'm going to be reluctant. I'm going to be the David Moulton hard grader and give them a B+.
Well, I expected 8 and 4. So to me, they only overachieved by a game. Now, I think was higher on Florida State and Mike Norvell going into this year than most people. And that includes members of the Florida State Athletic Department also. So I'm giving them a B+, but I'll say this. They win their bowl game, 10-win season. I'll turn it into an A-. Win your bowl game against Oklahoma, which, sounds good. I know it's a 6-6 Oklahoma team, but hey, don't know what to tell you. Win your bowl game, finish the season with a 6-game winning streak. All right. Post a 10-win season. Basically say we were the second best team in this conference this year. And if we're playing by next year's rules, we would have been in the conference championship game. Oh, by the way.
They're playing in the Cheez-It Bowl.
Yes.
Where there are apparently, I think, 4 fans or 2 fans from each school and 2 players from each school are staying in like Cheez-It themed rooms and getting paid for it.
Right.
In NIL with Cheez-Its.
Where do I sign up?
Oh my goodness.
Just how do I be a part of this? I mean, Cheez-Its have to come with the room, right?
The room looks like a big box of Cheez-Its.
That's fine. Do the Cheez-Its come with the room?
I would think they would have to come with the room.
Also, by the way, needs to be unlimited Cheez-Its. All right. Don't say this is all you get. No. I need to call down to room service. And what do I need? I need another box. That's what I needed. You might as well just save yourself a trip and bring 2.
So Florida State getting a B+ from both of us. I gave UCF a little better grade than David did. They did get to a conference championship game.
Yeah, but they backed into it. I mean, come on. Couldn't beat Navy at home to host the conference championship game. I mean, listen, you and I both had them in the conference championship game at the beginning of the season. We did. We thought, that they were no worse than the second best team.
So those are our grades. Playing teacher this morning as the first semester's ending for everybody. And our football season has ended, at least the college one.
For the record, Mark gave USF an F. I gave him a D. All right, because I thought they played pretty tough. And turns out they were 5-7 against the spread. Maybe I should have made them a D-. But I don't know. For whatever reason, I'm not willing to give them an F. I am very willing to give Miami an F.
Right. USF did not beat a Division I football team.
I understand that. They
Okay,
beat Howard.
just making sure that you're aware of that.
I know. My expectations were not very high, though. 3 to 4 wins was my expectation. I know Phil Steele thought they could get to 6 this year. It's one of the few that he missed on. But
couple of texts we got, David, as we were talking about the grades and the report card problem. It says, texter says, my problem is I had a younger sister who got good grades and went to the same school. They would know the timing of our report cards because she would get hers and give them right to mom and dad.
Of course she would.
Uh-huh.
Don't blame her.
And then a Gator fan who's still upset with the Gators. The Florida Gators did not beat you when we talked about them beating Utah as part of their grade. They did not beat Utah. Utah beat themselves with a turnover at the end. Florida gets the University of F. They get a giant capital F.
Wow. Are we sure that's a Gator fan or that's just a Knowles fan in disguise?
I don't know. That seemed like an angry Gator fan.
Okay. Wow.
I will tell you this, David. There was nothing clutch about the Gators after that Utah game. Nothing.
Not even going to give them credit for the South Carolina game? No?
I'll give them credit for the win. Maybe it was a little clutch. But that leads us to our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch Vodka, Clutch with the K. Felipe, what do you have?
We go to the NHL. Mitch Marner of the Toronto Maple Leafs became the 4th active player to record a point streak of at least 20 games, and he did it on this goal.
And an overtime goal he didn't like. Here's Marner from distance, loose in front, scores! It's a 20-game point streak for Mitch Marner. The magic continues, and John Tavares has the icebreaker tonight in Big D.
What an incredible run this has been for Marner.
By the way, how about Felipe? Let's grade Felipe with the play of the day. Can't believe Felipe, Mr. NBA, had a Dallas-Denver trading three-pointers at the end. Dallas hits the game-winning shot very late, wins by 1, and he goes NHL?
Mitch Marner?
Wow.
Wow, Felipe.
That's impressive.
Yes. Give Felipe a B+ on the pod today.
I might even be willing to give him an A- since he went hockey, because we thought because he fooled you. You said you're going 3-pointer, and he just said, yep.
Yeah.
Gave you a little tease, as a matter of fact.
I figured his backup was the penalty kicks, Morocco, Spain. But, of course, that gets us in all kind of trouble with Facebook and what have you. So I think he was trying to protect us.
That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka. Check them out. Look for them in retail stores. Ask for them in retail stores. Ask for them at your local bar and tavern. And make sure you hashtag all your drinks with Clutch Spirits. That's Clutch Vodka. Clutch with a K.
Felipe, I hope you take the Twitch chat room, okay? And just think, I know everyone's treating you, because let's face it, everybody in the Twitch chat room is basically older than you. So they're talking about you as if you're like their, nephew or young son. Hey, I'm proud of you, kid. Way to go there, Philly. that's what you're getting in the Twitch chat room. Just, you still sit at the kids' table, at Thanksgiving, to the folks in the Twitch chat room. So this was a big move, Felipe.
Don't kid yourself. He still sits at the kids' table at his own house at the Thanksgiving table. He told me so. He said that they're all of drinking age now, and they're still all at the kids' table. That's that generation. That's the thing, Felipe. Someone's got to leave in order for a seat to open.
It's even more fun now, though.
Darn right it is. Now the kids' table is where you want to be at.
Exactly.
That's the happening table. That the adults are going to come over and try to find out what's going on at that table, because that's going to be the hip table as opposed to the old table. Miller and Moulton. Bud Elliott, very hip. He's next on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
You had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So I got this IRA that I send $100 a month to and have for a long time. And so the $100 comes out of the account within the first 5 days of every month. And it did so this month too. And all of a sudden I checked my accounts this morning, and the bank says that the IRA is putting the $100 back into my checking account. Anybody ever heard of that before?
No.
They took the money, and then a few days later, they're like, nah, we're giving it back. Has anybody ever heard of that before? Obviously, I got to call them today and go, what the? But just wondering if that's ever happened to anyone. KW, a Seth promo. Our promo saying Seth's coming on, or what? Or is Seth actually doing a promo? What do you mean? Do you have them manage your IRA? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they're a fund. I give them $100 a month, and what?
What Hops just typed.
I took it as kind of a middle finger. I did.
Morning, bud.
Morning, guys. What's going on?
Same old stuff.
Man, transfer portal. Yeah. Busy.
That's why we have you. Keep tabs on it. Although I know I told you this before, your site's rock solid on this.
Yeah, I mean, we really we went all in for it. We thought it'd be a big deal, and I think it is.
For what it's worth, the reason why I think what you're doing is great, Mark made a point at the beginning of the show. When it comes to Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, we really know who all these guys are.
Yeah.
There's so many in college. We may have heard their names, but we don't really know these players. We need a place to literally educate, even, if we think we're a good fan.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just so many college players,
Yep.
Help me out, bud. And I know we only got about a minute before we go on. Is transferring now limitless? They can go as many times as they want. Where are we?
No. So you get one transfer as an undergraduate, and then if you graduate, you can do a graduate transfer.
How's JT Daniels transferring for a third time?
You can get a waiver if there was something that was like adversarial at the prior school, hostile.
Okay. So you can get 3 with a letter. Are they pretty liberal with granting those?
It's very mixed. That oftentimes if you find a sick relative, that'll do it for you.
10 seconds.
So, but it's not everybody gets it.
I thought the council recommended limitless.
They
Okay,
did, but it's not anymore.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, and in this hour on a Wednesday, that means Bud Elliott. CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports, 2 great podcasts, Cover 3 and Noel Cash. You can follow Bud on Twitter, Bud Elliott 3. That's 2 L's, 2 T's, and the number 3. Bud, how are you?
Guys, doing well. Just back from Nashville. We were doing our transfer portal show for 24/7 Sports. I'm excited to be here.
How often are you guys going to do transfer portal shows? I mean, because it is a constant. Your website does its terrific job of keeping people updated on this. And I'm not saying that because you're on with us. I say it all the time. 24/7, really the place to go for following transfer portal stuff. They were the first to do it and jump into the pool, into the deep end, and they do a great job. But how often are you guys doing podcasts to update people on transfer portal stuff?
So, I mean, in the offseason, probably just as often as anybody who covers the NBA is going to talk free agency or trades, as often as somebody in baseball that does the same, right? Now, I think the show we did on Monday, which was a show specifically about the transfer portal, we probably will not do a lot of those, but we will talk about individual prospects. We will probably, if you run a team site show within our team site network, you will certainly be talking about transfers, how they impact your team a lot. I still think people follow college football through the lens of their team. Nobody's a fan of just recruiting as a sport. Nobody's a fan of transfer portal as its own entity. It's all an extension of your fandom of your team, but we're going to have a ton of coverage of it for sure.
All right. This may be a naive question, but how many times can you transfer? We're under the impression that you can transfer once as an undergrad, and then once you're a grad student, you can transfer. But I thought the NCAA committee in August recommended going forward basically unlimited transfers if you get a letter from your mom.
So they did recommend unlimited transfers, but that does not mean it was actually implemented, right? It was just kind of a suggestion. You still get 2 transfers. You get your undergraduate transfer and you get your graduate transfer. Now, if you have like a sick family member, you can oftentimes get a waiver to return to a school really close to your home. But for the most part, like you're not getting those waivers just for any reason, right? If you had, maybe like I know of one kid, I'm not going to use his name on here, who had somebody who he had to file stalking charges against at the prior school, right? And in that case, he was able to get a waiver to transfer to a different school. So if there's like a hostile condition, if you have to get home really close to home to care for like a sick mom or sick family member, then you can get a waiver. But for the most part, it's just 2. Also, it doesn't apply if you transfer down a level. So for instance, if you'd already transferred and you wanted to transfer to Jackson State or something like that, because that's an FCS school, you could do that.
You can't then transfer back to D1 though, right? Once you've made that commitment, are you then locked in unless it would be a grad transfer?
No, so that does not count as your undergraduate FBS to FBS transfer. So you could technically go D1 FCS back to D1, then still use your grad transfer if you wanted to. Although at some point, like you do want your credits to transfer if you believe in the college part of college football at all.
Right.
And that's kind of tough to pull the whole four schools, 4 years thing and make it work.
Well, and obviously we're asking this because TJ Daniels in the news. He's leaving West Virginia. And remember, he started at USC and then he went to Georgia and now West Virginia. And so, snaps in the Pac-12, the SEC, the Big 12, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes next. Very quickly, going back, any problems with the 4 that got in the playoff?
No, I look, would Alabama be favored over TCU? Yes. Did Alabama show on the field this year that they would be favored over TCU? No, right? The reason they'd be favored is because these power ratings, which I use, incorporate heavily recruiting rankings and priors, like past years and team and program history. That's all true, but the games on the field have to matter to some extent, right?
Thank you.
And Bama did not play like a team that would be favored over TCU, right? I mean, also Bama's losses down the stretch got worse. Tennessee got its doors blown off by South Carolina. LSU was not really competitive against A&M, and then they got blown out by Georgia. So I think if you're going to have a 2-loss team, non-champion, get in, this Bama squad was not going to be the one that you'd want to set that precedent with, in my opinion.
All right, I've got to go back to the transfer portal in a different way.
Yeah.
Because, Bud, you like to gamble. We like to gamble. And you're pretty good at it. We're not. So I always look for any type of help that I can get. But when it comes to the transfer portal, how is it going? I mean, I would think it's going to massively affect bowl games from a standpoint. It used to be some teams just didn't show up for bowl games, and you had a different way of kind of looking at how the non-playoff college postseason went. But now with the transfer portal, we look at the Florida Gators, Bud, and we know there's going to be a mass exodus there. I don't know how many players are going to have left for a bowl game.
So a couple just tips on betting bowl games when it comes to the transfer stuff. I usually don't bet bowl games till right before the kickoff. I actually want to like pull up my tweet deck columns and look to see what the beat reporters are tweeting, like who's actually warming up, who's going to play. I look at the rosters real quick. I'm like, okay, any spots where they have multiple kids at the same position out, because then you're going to have to run walk-ons out there, which is kind of, should be exploited by the other team. But one thing I will point to you guys is you can play in the bowl game if you are in the transfer portal. And that is something that we've been burned by in past years. She's like, oh, this kid's in the portal. You cross him off. You're like, oh, well, wait a second. He's actually playing. So pay special attention to that. Don't cross guys off your roster if you maintain rosters just because the guy's in the portal. It is at the coach's discretion if he's going to let you play, assuming that you actually want to, right? But some of these dudes from these lower schools who are going to hit the portal, I think Western Kentucky was probably the best example of this last year. A lot of us got burned fading Western Kentucky because their quarterback we thought was going to be an opt-out or a transfer. They had a lot of guys on that roster who had announced that they were going to transfer because Western Kentucky had a great year. They were going to move up a level. And all of a sudden they're like, guys, we're going to play together as a team one last time. And they did, and they went out there and they covered their bowl game. And I opposed them in that matchup to my detriment. So make sure you pay attention to the guys who are actually playing, not just if they're in the portal. But it will impact bowl games quite a bit.
Bud Elliott, CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports, 2 terrific podcasts, Cover 3 and NoCast. Follow him on Twitter, Bud Elliott, the number 3, Bud Elliott, 2 L's, 2 T's, 3. All right, Deion, Colorado. His speech to the team, the first one, was released as quickly as possible. Are kids going to line up and flock to Boulder? They went 1-11. They could use a flock.
I think it is possible that some kids will line up and flock to Boulder, right? And that they will be an improved team because Prime is going to improve that roster for sure. Now, I don't know if he can improve it as much as he did Jackson State. You know, when I look at Jackson State, it kind of tells me just how bad the SWAC was as a league, that you can take guys who didn't even start for Louisiana Monroe, bring in five new transfers to make your offensive line different. And they're all like all conference level guys within that league. I'm like, wait, Louisiana Monroe is the bottom of FBS, right? So what kind of cast-offs can you get that are going to be functional players at Colorado? Can you be a second chance destination? This is really key. I had some guys I knew on Colorado's last staff, and they would constantly complain, like well before they got hot seated and fired, that they could not get transfers in because the school wouldn't allow it academically. It was actually kind of a sneaky, tough place to get players to come in and transfer. Now, it appears that the school, because they're desperate, I think, is going to let basically anybody in to Colorado, because like the names that we're hearing that they might be getting are like, oh, okay, that kid, you know, he's gotten arrested and he's had a lot of trouble at this spot, and like just stuff like that, to where if Colorado is really going to be just wide open, then I think Prime's going to improve that roster quite a bit. Now, if he can keep everybody together on the same page, I guess we'll see. That their schedule next year is very tough, though.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys have taken a look at that.
They open at TCU.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're going to get Matt Rule in Nebraska. They redo the rivalry with Colorado State, and then they got a Pac-12 schedule.
Yeah, he will improve the roster for sure. We'll see. I thought the hire of Sean Lewis, they went out and took Kent State's head coach to be their OC. They're clearly throwing some money around, right? And I think he will probably have a lot more success there than Carl Durrell did. Will he reach a Pac-12 title game? I don't know, but I think he can get him back to bowl eligibility fairly quick if you just flip that roster.
That's going to be fascinating, because to me, the other side of this, Bud, is if wins don't come early, how will the administration handle if, this type of kid? I've had people text in the show saying the old Colorado alums aren't going to be able to handle this. So I think it's an interesting case study to see if they don't win right away, how much leverage the university is still going to give Deion.
Yeah, I mean, at Jackson State, it was basically just a party, right? And like a celebration every week, and Prime's always going to make it about Prime, right? But at the same time, what happens if he didn't even do his post celebration bowl media availability, right? He just skipped it. Can he just dodge questions after losses, after he makes mistakes on the field? What kind of coach is Prime, by the way, when he doesn't have an enormous talent advantage? I mean, that Jackson State team, as far as their talent, didn't even belong in the SWAC. It wasn't even close. They played a sloppy game last weekend and covered. I took them as one of my picks in the Gold Nugget contest, and they covered for me. And I was like, I watched the ball game because I knew I'd have to talk about Deion on shows, and obviously I was interested in them covering for me. And guys, they did not play all that well, and they still covered, making multiple mistakes throughout the game. It was impressive how much talent they have there.
USC had 51 new players this year. Now, obviously, it helps when one of them is the guy who's probably going to win the Heisman. But for the Gators and the Canes especially, is it going to be close to that kind of number? Like, could both programs have 40 new players next year?
Florida, I don't know if they're going to have 40 new. Miami is having a kind of a mass exodus right now into the portal. So I think Miami could. 40 still a ton, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think USC, yeah, 51 sounds right on USC. Were they all 51 scholarship guys? I feel like that's kind of crazy because you still had limits. But now there's no rule limiting how many players you can bring in a given year, but you still have to be able to fit them all on the 85, which is your overall roster size cap. So I think they're both going to have quite a bit of roster turnover. I do. Meanwhile, in Tallahassee, they're retaining guys left and right to kind of load up and make a run.
Retaining guys, but that also means they're going to go back into the portal, I would think, to try to finish. I mean, the Noles are at that right spot if you're going to make the jump, where a combination of recruiting and transfer portal can help you make this next step, right, bud?
Yeah, I think FSU will probably take between 6 and 10 players in the transfer portal. Like an offensive lineman or two. Quarterback, they're good because Jordan Travis announced he's coming back. I think they would be selective and get a speed receiver. They're good where they are at receiver. But if they got a guy who's like a ridiculous burner, I think they would go and try to get that. I think they'll take a tight end, probably another defensive lineman, probably another corner or safety. And who knows, maybe they find a better kicker. I mean, it feels weird to use a transfer portal spot on a kicker, but their kicking woes this year were pretty well documented.
The next time we talk to you will be a week from tomorrow. By the way, everybody note that down. Next Wednesday's early signing day, huge day for Bud. So we're going to talk to Bud after all the early commits. Between now and the next time we talk.
Oh, no. The 21st is early signing day.
Oh, okay. My bad. I thought it was next week.
Between my bad on the text. Sorry, guys.
Okay. Who's crushing it out there that maybe isn't getting talked about?
Notre Dame's doing a really good job. You guys would be surprised to learn this, but Alabama is still actually doing really well. So if you think Nick Saban's hanging them up, maybe not quite yet. They're still the number one class in the country. Kirby Smart, by the way, which is a team who has 0 transfers on it right now. Georgia does not have a single transfer. They are pursuing Kent State's Dante Cephas, the stud receiver, in the portal. So I think that will change. Georgia will probably take a couple transfers this year. But yeah, Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame really did a nice job to keep things together. And they turned their season around too, which I think certainly helps. If you had gone 5-7, then that really would not have worked. And I think Ohio State will make a strong push at the end for sure. And to be honest, I'm hearing some rumblings that the Gators might close extremely strong. So I think they had their collective stuff together, and there's going to be some Miami and Florida battles down the stretch. We're going to see just who wins those, because obviously Florida beat them on that quarterback recently.
Hey, Bud, we were giving out some grades earlier since you do the Nolecast. What grade, ABCD grade, would you give Florida State this year?
Oh, I mean, an A. I mean, they went 9-3. They survived, a couple of really critical injuries in the middle of the season, and their season win total was 6.5. So, they might have been the best team in the ACC by season's end.
Yeah, if we go by next year's rules, they probably would have played Clemson in the title game, and I'm not sure Clemson would have wanted that. But thanks so much, and whether it's next week or 2 weeks from now, we'll keep doing this.
All right, guys, enjoyed it.
Bud Elliott, CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports, the Cover 3 podcast, the Nolecast. Follow him on Twitter at Bud Elliott3, Bud Elliott, the number 3. Miller and Moulton, Seth Everett will join us next hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Hump Day edition here on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, Klecko. Yeah, by the way, I don't know who it was in the Twitch chat room. We mentioned Zimmer yesterday, that Zimmer's been kind of a, consultant with Deion and Jackson State, and that, Deion's got the offer on the table for him to come there and be his defensive coordinator. One thing to remember, though, when you do something like that, like Mike Zimmer's not going to be a recruiter. And Mike's old school. Mike, you might have to hide Mike from the kids you're bringing in, to be honest with you, until they sign. Mongo, my best friend, lives out there, and while everything you said is true, he said that right now the market is so ripe. The Avs are at the point now where people are like, we'll see you in the playoffs. The Nuggets, it's the same thing. They have to make a playoff run. People out there don't believe that they will until they do it. The Rockies are a disaster, and so are now the Broncos. So they think Dion's kind of arriving at the perfect time where they could create a little buzz.
Ten seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it is the 8 o'clock hour of Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Happens to be the first Wednesday in December, but it's also December 7th, one of those dates in our nation's history. And as Franklin Delano Roosevelt said a little over 80 years ago, a day that will live in infamy. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We got Seth Everett coming up in about 35 minutes. We just got done talking to Bud Elliott. And if I could elaborate, Mark, on something that we were talking to him about, and we talked about this in our bonus hour yesterday. But obviously the folks in Lake City and Tampa St. Pete and Port Charlotte to Venice, they did not get that. So I want to bring a part of it up again, which is, do you think the college football fan will embrace this essentially free agency that is now happening in their sport? You made note earlier in the show, generic sports fan, never mind baseball, basketball, NFL fan, absolutely loves MLB, NBA, NFL free agency.
Loves it. I mean, cannot get enough of it.
But the college football fan, we have acknowledged, is a little different animal. Do you think they're going to like CFB free agency?
I don't know. Yesterday played golf, and one of the guys is a big Sox fan. He goes, "Hey, what are you hearing about Bogarts?" And I said, I've seen the Padres and then we went back and forth on it. Whatever. The conversation's meaningless. The difference is that outside of the guys that are, first off, if they're leaving via transfer, you don't want them anymore.
Right.
I mean, if that guy's transferring out, that guy's not worth being at, name the school. And as far as transferring in, there's only a handful of guys that people will want that'll make an impact. So I don't know, because it's not the same. We're not familiar with the players. Like last year, the kid from Pitt, the receiver that won the Blitnikoff Award and goes to USC. Well, that's a pretty good get.
Right.
But there are only, 5 of those guys a year? 4? 5 might be too high. That we actually know who they are when they're transferring.
But do you think that it's something the college football fan is open to embracing, I guess is what I'm getting at? Because, Mark, let's be honest. 10 years ago, we didn't really pay attention to the interior of offensive lines in the NFL. And now, come second, third week of March, when you and I kick out and go, hey, so-and-so got up and left and went to Cleveland and signed a 5-year, $40 million deal. And then people chime in and go, oh, wow, that's a terrific signing. It's a right guard. Do you think that this is something that the college football fan, Saturday fan, we've talked about it, very different than the Sunday fan?
I thought Bud said one really interesting thing. That's obvious, but I thought it was still interesting. Is that the college football fan, first and foremost, is a fan of his team. So if you're getting up every morning as a Gator fan and you're checking 24/7 to see who's coming and who's going, I do think that provides you an offseason. Hell, David, we've been doing this about whatever recruit we're getting for a generation. So why wouldn't we embrace the transfer portal the same way? We're all in on these recruits. These Florida fans and Florida State fans and Miami fans can tell you about sophomores and juniors that are interested in their program that we don't know if they can play a lick.
Right.
Some cases, they're 15 years old. So I can see where the college football fan, and I was guilty of it. My fandom came back a year ago when all of a sudden out of nowhere, Mel Tucker took my Spartans to a 10-plus win season. Out of nowhere. Why? They picked up one running back in the transfer portal that changed everything. And what was I doing last offseason? Going to 24/7. Going to the recruiting page, chasing that up with the transfer portal page. Where do we rank? So for me, for a guy that had kind of lost interest in its program because of some other things that had happened at the university, the transfer portal brought me back a little bit. So I don't know if I'm unique or if I'm the average college football fan. I think they're going to get into it.
All right. Because the one thing that I have always been concerned about with college football is the professionalization of it. And this is certainly going down that road. If we're going to start having this kind of roster turnover, player movement, and what is NIL? NIL, Mark, might as well be money under the cap. Right. How much money? Well, I hear Michigan State's got a lot of money this year. You
know what, David? They really should name the NIL the free agent pool money.
Yes. And you know what, Mark? Let's also be honest. It's baseball. There is no cap to this sucker.
No.
I mean, it's a matter of whether or not you as a school, if you can't get your NIL act together, you know what that means? That means you're the Rays. You're the Pirates. All right. You're the Marlins. You're a low, market team. Then you got your middle of the road teams. And then, of course, you got, you got your act together. So, in other words, you're going to be the Phillies now. You're signing Bryce Harper. You're signing Trey Turner. Okay. Oh, yeah. You're signing, Tawan Walker. Oh, you're the Phillies all of a sudden. Okay. All right.
Well, and when I grabbed 24/7's recruiting team rankings, and all of a sudden I see South Carolina's cracked the top 15, you know what that tells me? Somebody's got their NIL department in order. Now, they may not stay there, but I just, quick glance, I went through the break and started looking, well, I'll be damned. South Carolina's got 11 four-star commits. That seems a touch high for the Gamecocks.
I will say the Shane Beamer thing excites me. All right. He seems as if they can just keep him, okay, he seems as if he's a young, I'm not saying he's going to be this great a coach, but just personality, willing to tweak other coaches. All right. He's somewhere between Kiffin and Spurrier. I really get the sense, just don't know if he can coach like them, because I think the two of them, are elite with X's and O's and what have you. But just his personality, he's willing to make fun of other coaches, and he's okay if they then turn around a year later and make fun of him back. But he also keeps score for those that have mocked him for little things he's done. All right. You know what? We need more Shane Beamers.
We do. But I don't care if he's the greatest schemer of X's and O's on the planet. If their NIL department isn't in order, David, they're not getting 11 4-stars.
True. But if he's got a personality and he's got them winning 8 games, and Mark, how devoted that fan base is. I mean, you go 8-4, 5 years in a row there, they start talking about, we're going to have to make a statue of this guy. Okay, never mind you do what Spurrier did, and my goodness. So
just a quick tangent. That's a football program that needs to be good for a decade. It really does. And I know Gator fan doesn't want to hear that, but I'm just telling you, I've been to Columbia. I've been there when they came off a 0-win season and walked around that game day. They played Georgia, and you would have thought they were coming off a national title.
That fan base deserves, like the 1 year Spurrier took them to the SEC title game. And I don't know if I've ever seen a happier fan base walking around Atlanta. They got destroyed that day by 5 touchdowns. That smile didn't come off their face leaving the stadium. We were here, baby.
And you wonder with the way the divisions are going away if that ever happens. But South Carolina has a little something going on with Beamer, and that's why I brought them up.
I'm just curious. You know how I'm just worried. This isn't an intangible, but you know how worried I am about the intangible connection that is there with college football, and that the more we professionalize it, all right, will it do real damage to the sport? So far, Mark, no. It was a good year, television ratings. We had TCU, a little bit of an outsider, even though they're Power 5, obviously. TCU in the playoff a year after Cincinnati in the playoff. For college football, I mean, this is really inviting new people to the party, baby.
And the only new people that are going to get to this party now are in the Big 12 and the Pac-12 going forward. Because I don't see how it's going to be very difficult for a non-traditional power in the SEC when we eliminate divisions and we're going to have conference championship games that are among the 2 best. It's going to be hard for the Kentuckys of the world to get into this college football playoff. You and I think that Minnesota, Purdue, the Indianas of the world, their ship has sailed.
Right. Like this year in the Big Ten West, for Illinois, for Minnesota, Purdue was the one that got there. You'll never sniff the Big Ten championship game again.
One more year. You've got next year. And then divisions are going to go away, and it's going to be very, very difficult to get in for a team like Purdue.
Here's a poll question for you. When's the first year you think Alabama misses the playoff? Beginning in 2024, when this thing goes to 12. All right. For Alabama and Ohio State, you tell me the year they missed the playoff for the first time. Whew. Because if they throw a 9-3 up on the board, they'll still be, serious contenders to get the final spot or two. So I was just curious, your gut feeling, the reaction on the text line. Basically now when we're talking about college football, Mark, we are lumping it in the way we talk about professional sports. I'm just wondering if that's going to have an impact with fandom. So far, it doesn't seem to be.
Gator fan, Knoll fan, Kane fan, UCF fan, what do you think? 21,000 is our text line, 21000. If you've never texted before, FSN Radio is the keyword to do so. We would love to hear your take on the transfer portal, how it affects college football, and how, more importantly, it affects your fandom to college football. Do get, it's funny, and we've often talked, David, that this show, because of where we are in Florida and people coming from all over, the texts come from everywhere. CU alum saying, an old CU alum talking to many others, Prime will have a lot of leeway. I think we understand how low we've gone. Rome wasn't built overnight. Miller and Moulton, we thank you for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, I think Dion lost some toes, actually. So I think Dion will always limp going forward.
Oh, this is fun. David Hyde and Orlando Alzagari are having a big Twitter argument right now.
About?
Hyde wrote a piece about quarterbacks and some stats, and apparently didn't have Herbert's fourth quarter interceptions in there, and he's throwing saying it's not a QB stat, and Orlando's like, yeah, John Beck. Yeah, I mean, it just
is that what he came back with?
The one tweet had a list of it's not a QB stat, and listed Tannehill, John Beck, and just listed 5 quarter. Yeah, quarter. It's not a winning stat. And Hyde's going all analytics. It's just fun.
Roy had to move his slot tomorrow, so we're going to do the short segment with Roy tomorrow in the 8 o'clock hour. So I'll try to get a 8 a.m. so that we have 4 in a row.
You don't have to work that hard. We can do an 8. That's fine.
No, I understand, but I've had calls into FAU and USF, and and
Pro Football Talk. Last year when the OBJ free agency sputtered, we said watch the Rams. And this year, as OBJ's free agency sputters, I'll say this: watch the Eagles.
Is that PFN or Pro Football Talk?
Pro Football Talk.
$15 seconds.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes after the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Seth Everett to join us coming up in a little less than 20 minutes. We mentioned this in our opening hour when we do the starting 5, which is like a big radio sports center. But the Titans fired their GM yesterday. They're in first place.
And have gone to the playoffs,
I believe, 6 consecutive years. Every year he's been general manager, okay? This is his 7th year. They had a winning record all 7 years. So maybe one of those years they went 9-7 and didn't make the playoffs, okay? Second winningest general manager in franchise history. They've just lost 2 in a row. They went from 7-3 to 7-5. If you look at them closely this year, when they've played the good teams, they've lost. They've beaten up on everybody. I think they have 1 win against a winning team, and I think it was like Seattle. Okay, so, they've lost to the Chiefs, they lost to the Bengals, they lost to the Eagles. I mean, they're not one of the really good teams. They're just the best team in the second worst division in the league. But last year, they were the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. 2 years before that, they went to the AFC Championship game. Yet, 3 years ago, he spent his first-round pick on a guy who had huge red flags and bombed out. Played like 1 game for him and then was out of the league. Meanwhile, 16 picks later, the Eagles take Jalen Hurts. Think the Titans would like to have a quarterback of the future? They had to re-sign Tannehill because they didn't have anybody. So they're paying him $35 million a year. The Eagles got out from Carson Wentz and moved on. Why? Because they had Jalen Hurts. Then, sure enough, he can't sign A.J. Brown. We don't have the money. So he trades him for a first-round pick.
Hey, he doesn't sign A.J. Brown. Don't give me they don't have the money, because every team can find a way to get the money in this league. That cannot – the L.A. Rams are the reason you cannot use I don't have enough money as an excuse. You just can't do it, David. I'm sorry.
I agree. And, Mark, the tone in your voice sounds like that's the conclusion that the owner came to. That when she signed him to a contract extension in February, they were coming off of being the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. Yeah, they blew the game at home against the Bengals, but they still had A.J. Brown. She's thinking, well, yeah, he's asking for more money. Well, we'll figure out a way to sign him. We did it with Tannehill. We did it with Derrick Henry. We'll figure out a way to sign A.J. Brown. 2 months later, they're trading him at the draft for a first-round pick. And last week, she's sitting in Philadelphia in a suite watching Jalen Hurts, who they could have had, all right, and A.J. Brown, who they had, torched them.
Runs over a receiver on one play to get wide open where the receiver just falls down, or D-back rather falls down. Next play goes up and steals one. Next touchdown, that is. I mean, looked like the beast that he is. And there was no answer on the other side.
And Mark, we've seen this in sports where a GM will just see the result of a game or a weekend, say if it's in the NBA or the NHL, and they'll just go, yeah, I know what our record is and all, but we're just not good enough. I need to get somebody in here better. It may take a while, but this guy's not the answer. And boom, they come in and they fire the coach, and we all go, well, an owner just did that to the general manager, it looks like. Sat back, took a look around and said, I know 6 straight winning seasons and, blah, 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 but I'm trying to win a Super Bowl here, and I just don't think this is the guy to do it. And she fires him.
And this is a new owner.
Yeah, she inherited from her.
But
right.
As far as running the team, this is a relatively new owner to make a big decision like that mid-season.
Well, because she was rumored maybe 2 to 3 years ago as she was taking control of the franchise that maybe she was going to sell it. I mean, when Peyton, shortly after he retired, the talk was he's going to get his hands on the Titans. Their ownership situation's up in the air. Obviously, we know how popular he is in the state. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is a George Steinbrenner type move, by the way, that she just did. I mean, it's firing your manager when he's in first place.
Because don't kid yourself, Tennessee's already won this division.
Oh, yeah. Put the X next to it.
Playoff game, for crying out loud. Again.
Right. They're going to host either the Dolphins or the loser of the AFC North. Yeah, they got a home playoff game coming in mid-January. Absolutely. And with that defense and that coach and Derrick Henry, heck, they may win a playoff game. Then they'll have to go to the 1 seed. They'll get beat. But, yeah.
But she looked at her quarterback and her starting receiver and looked at their quarterback and their star receiver and said, why don't I have those?
And I had one of them, and I could have had the other. I mean, it's a bold move by any owner. And also, I mean, come on, let's be brutally honest. It's a female owner who did this. All right? This is an Onions move. All right? And she walks in the building on Tuesday morning and says, John, we need to talk. And 12 minutes later, he's packing up his office. And everybody in the room's going, what the heck just happened? Well, Amy decided to make some changes. What? Does she know this is going to be our 7th consecutive winning season? Do you know there's only one team in the league who's had more consecutive winning seasons than us? It's the Kansas City Chiefs. What is she doing? I think she watched the game Sunday.
I don't know what to tell you. She doesn't think she can beat the Kansas City Chiefs
anytime soon.
And she thinks they're going the wrong way. And most agree.
Now, we said they peaked last year. That was their year. The number 1 seed, and unfortunately for them, Henry got hurt. And then Tannehill, stinks up the joint in the home playoff game. And that was their opportunity. They were going to get Kansas City or Buffalo to come to them. They had beaten them both. That was their window, and it looks as if it's closed.
And for the Davids of the world that had backed Tannehill for a long time, there hasn't been he hasn't played well enough this year to get past that loss. Not that he's played poorly, but he's not played well enough in moments this year that you can sit there and say he has put that game behind him.
And also, I mean, to be objective, A.J. Brown was the guy for it. They drafted a wide receiver in the first round. He's had an inconsistent year at best, and then got hurt in the Eagles game after catching a touchdown. But I mean, she's looking around going, yeah, we're not going to beat the Chiefs or the Bengals or the Bills anytime soon. Never mind, if this is the best in the NFC, we just got beat by 25. And so instead of calling a meeting and saying, hey, we got to talk the long-term plan. Okay. No offense. What we've done is we've reached a threshold and we need to, do better than this. She came in and said, John, I love you. You're fired.
But think about it. What's happened to them this year? They got their asses kicked by the Bills. They lost to the Chiefs, and they lost to the Bengals. Tough for her to sit there and take a conclusion that they're going anywhere but backward. But it's still stunning to happen midseason. Stunning.
Breaking news in Major League Baseball. We will have it for you with Seth Everett on the other side. Big news.
I'm going to have to grab my phone during this commercial break and figure out what the hell it is you're talking about, because my notifications didn't go off yet.
Big news.
Miller and Moulton with big news, and Seth Everett next. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Morning.
9 for
Morning.
360.
Told you. Judge signed with the Yankees 9 for 360.
I saw. I had a thing.
You remember the opening scene in Slapshot where he's interviewing the goalie, and right before they go on air on TV, the goalie gets up and walks away. That's with every interview. He is Denny Lemieux. He's got a Syracuse.
What do you got on? Is this Everett, Washington?
The Everett Aqua Sox.
I like the name.
When I left the Mariners, they gave this to me as a gift.
Is that like their A?
Single
team?
A, short season.
Oh.
Their home jersey says Aqua Sox, but their road jersey says Everett. So I have a jersey. I forgot to put it on. I like what Barstool tweeted out when they were saying that Brady was going up to Aaron Judge going, "Hey, you, me, San Francisco next year." It's instigating, but it's really funny.
Brady did send out a tweet saying, well, I gave him my pitch. And of course, then everybody has to figure out what was the pitch.
What was the pitch?
Be a Ray.
Yeah. That's funny. What's going on with you guys?
Nothing. We're working. Kind of
Okay,
like you.
Me
You know,
too.
we're working men.
I know. Putting together Hall of Justice this week has taken hours out of my life. It's like an editing, and it's 4 different guests. We're doing a tribute to Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. And rather than tell you the actors that you guys wouldn't know, we have Robin, Batgirl, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern.
Nice.
Yeah. So
this is from the original Batman like TV cartoon. Is that what you're talking about? Or
Batman the animated series? Yeah. And he was on 5 times, but what we did 2 weeks ago is we played clips from that. This time we're playing clips from the show. So I've been going on HBO Max and like downloading all these things. It's just been it's been fun. It's
need copyright to do all that, Seth. Is there any when you're releasing podcasts?
Well, there are flags for it. So like none of the clips are more than 10 seconds. And we're doing a tribute to a guy, so I don't think that they would.
No, I know, but we got kicked off Facebook. I figured out why. It's because
the algorithm. Yep, it's the music. Yeah,
it's World Cup highlights. We've been running highlights of everything, and I know some have been more than 10 seconds. We never run music, but the World Cup highlights, whether Peacock or because when we've run the Spanish ones too.
Yeah.
That goal call sends up the red flags to the Facebook folks.
It gets people up in arms. Do you like my Elaine Chevrier signed puck?
You showed us that last week.
Well, the new webcam can I had to clean up the place.
The new webcam is spectacular.
And I can
it's such a noticeable difference.
It's such a difference. And I can keep the window open and it doesn't look like it's blaring.
I do think you need to tilt it more down. To me, there's a little too much headroom.
I know. I can't really do that. It won't stay. And I can't make the monitor any lower because then my neck will start to hurt. I think this is as good as we're getting. I think. I want to do an anti-software ad. I had this software program that was doing backups and virus protection, and it was slowing my computer down so much that I changed, and now my computer is 3 times as fast. So I want to do an ad that says, don't use this.
I feel like this is going to end up like an SNL ad.
Ready?
Right?
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Final hour of our show in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. The bonus hour for those in the 239 begins at the top of the hour. It's this time every week. We welcome in our friend Seth Everett. 3 great podcasts, all very different. Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, Tech Stream. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. And Seth, we bring you on board with breaking news as we went to break.
Gulp.
Aaron Judge. We knew the Giants offered him 9 years, $360. The question was, would the Yankees match? And they did.
When they did.
So
wow.
Aaron Judge is a Yankee for the rest of the decade.
I'm surprised. I'm really surprised. I thought he was gone. I thought he was smarting about not having a contract and having that crazy year last year without a contract. And the Yankees gambled and they won. So good for them.
Did they win? I mean, Seth, did they really win spending this much money on a guy who will never have the type of year that he had last year?
Well, it's not my money, and now they're not going to get any other players. So, yeah, you could say it's not a great day. But, in sports, the legacies are important. And I think, now this guy will have his number retired, and this guy will go in, to Monument Park. And there's something to be said for that. If he leaves, he's Pujols. And the reality of it is he's older. So, he's not going to be as effective years 6, 7, 8, and 9 of that contract. But in order to keep him here and to keep that legacy, it's a priority. And I think fans resonate with that. They want to have their guy. The earlier generation has those guys. They have guys that were Yankees through and through, and now he will be.
We were talking about it yesterday. Mark would not have acquiesced to these demands. All right. He said so. He said, nope, too long, too much money. Sorry.
Strikes out way too much. Yeah. Gets hurt.
I said, first off, I think we had an interesting dynamic here. Cashman seemed to be along the lines of Mark Miller. This is too many years, too much money. I can do a lot more with $360 million than this. Steinbrenner sounded as if he's like, I'm channeling my old man. I am keeping Aaron Judge, and I don't care if he's throwing me in a barrel and throwing me over Niagara Falls. I'm keeping Aaron Judge.
Well, this is all ownership. Brian Cashman. The thing about Brian Cashman that I've always said, I've known him for decades, is he's never forthcoming because it's the nature of his job, but he never lies to you. He'll never look you in the eye and tell you the wrong thing. And I remember when I'll give you a perfect example. In 2007, Brian Cashman and I were sitting in the press room of the old Yankee Stadium, and he looked me right in the eye and said, Alex Rodriguez will never wear a Yankee uniform again. And that was after he opted out during the World Series. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he got overruled. Like, he gets overruled. I think in his heart of hearts, he was like, this doesn't make sense. This is not smart money. And I think that for Cashman, and that's not a knock on Cashman. This is what sports ownership is. Sports ownership. When you have a legacy player like that, whose brand is bigger than the production on the field, this is an ownership issue. This is a branding issue, and this is not necessarily a baseball issue.
And it's why the Yankees are the Yankees, Seth, because there are only, there are 10 franchises in sports where we know who the owner is, and Jerry Jones in Dallas, this time. I mean, there are very few teams where if this is pulled off, we know exactly why. It could happen in other markets, but we don't hear the whys like we do with a team like the Yankees.
Paul Allen. Yeah, there are times the owner, and in this situation, the owner spoke loud and clear. I don't think this is a Cashman deal, and if he signs with the Giants, I don't think that's a Cashman failure.
9 years, $360 million. So obviously, this is pretty simple math. It's $40 million a year. It's $109,600 per day for the rest of the decade.
It's good to be Aaron Judge. I don't think he's eating ramen noodles 6 for $1 anymore.
No, even with New York taxes, I think he can afford to go out, and it doesn't have to be Applebee's or Chili's. Yes.
Right.
Yes, he's doing.
Used to be ramen noodles were 6 for $1. Now it's 1 for $1. It's inflation.
Is that what ramen noodles gone to? It's $1 a bag now.
It's like the package of 5 was $4.99 or something like that. It's like 1 a pop. Besides the fact that it'll give you a coronary.
College.
I mean, that's what I lived on. I lived on that stuff.
Wait a minute. Did you say ramen noodles are going to give you a coronary?
If you eat as many as I did.
Seth, with all that's out there, we're now going to put ramen noodles on the list this is really bad for you.
Well, I mean, you could also open a thing
no
of
nutritional value
or the whole thing in your mouth at once. It's not far off.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. When
Seth
you're broke,
Everett,
you could buy it for a quarter.
Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and Text Stream. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. You did make another comment, though. You said that this will basically be it for the spending for the Yankees. I totally disagree. They haven't gone to a World Series in 13 years, Seth. In Yankee world, that might as well be 40.
Maybe they'll go for Kiner Falefa again.
Well, if Cashman just got a 4-year extension. Hal may look at him now and say, okay, Brian, you can now sign all the guys you want to sign.
Right, but how far can I go over the luxury tax? It's not his money.
Well, exactly. But he got his contract extension. The owner got him Judge back. They need pitching. They need another bat in the lineup. I mean, they haven't added to the lineup. All they did was keep it intact.
That's right. Bring Josh Donaldson back. That went well, right?
Yeah. No. Mark, you and I can relate to this. Josh Donaldson is such a blankety blank that the Yankees are basically saying to everyone else in Major League Baseball, we will pick up his salary, take him. And the rest of the sport's like, no, we're good.
Josh Donaldson, when he was in his prime, was one of the first ever guests on Sports with Friends. Because in 2015, when LaTroy Hawkins got traded to the Toronto Blue Jays, he wanted to try his hand in media. And I lent him a recording device and a microphone. And on the team plane, he would interview like his teammates. And so he got Josh Donaldson and David Price and all these guys. And then he sent me the audio, and I had just started the podcast. I hadn't even called it Sports with Friends at that point. And I just was like, yeah, let's put this out there in the world. So, yeah, sure. Josh Donaldson's like episode 6.
Did he say anything interesting?
I couldn't remember. I remember thinking how cool it was to have him on. That was pretty neat.
Well, and that was around 2015. I mean, that's when he was, he was the bomb.
Yep.
No question.
And
so
it wasn't me doing the interview. It was LaTroy Hawkins doing it.
That's, by the way, the breaking news. Aaron Judge stays with the Yankees, 9 for 360. Remember we had that lockout, the season nearly didn't happen. So let's see. Verlander, who's 74 years old, he's getting $43 million a year from the Mets. Judge gets $40 million a year, which is $4.5 million a year, Mark, more than Trout's annual AAV, by the way.
It shows you, though, and I think at the end of this, you keep talking about the World Series drought. Seth, I think at the end of the day, what it shows you is how important. If you're gonna, this is a decision based on the television network, isn't it? I mean,
if you're gonna market stars, if you're still in the market for stars, the interesting thing that'll happen is during the course of this contract, regional sports networks will literally be under siege, and this idea that everything's going to be a la carte anyway. The Yankees want to have the brand, to continue to make sales and digital sales and all that stuff. I mean, it's all connected. If you have, that's why I call him a legacy player. He's that kind of a guy. Reminds me of a young Jack Hughes. No, just kidding.
Unbelievable. You knew he'd go there. That's New Jersey Devils, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a segue. Did you see Hughes last night? He had the puck for like 50 seconds. Just couldn't let it go. He dominates on the ice.
Seth, you asked whether or not we watched a New Jersey Devils game last night
against the Blackhawks, by the way, in which
I'll tweet the highlights to you. I'll tag you.
They were minus 385. And Seth, you know what? Every morning when you're up for those iHeartRadio hits at 3:30 in the morning, tweet me as many Devil highlights as you would like. I would love to wake up every morning.
No problem.
Text from Seth catching me up on the Devils because they are an exciting, young, fast hockey team that I think we're going to be watching a lot of come April.
Best record in the league right now.
Yeah, that goes a long way in December in the NHL,
It's exciting. Somebody did the numbers. They said they could be 500 the rest of the year, and they'd finish with over 100 points, make the playoffs. That's how big a advantage they have. They're like 21-4.
And they found goaltending this year. They didn't have it last year, Seth. That's the difference.
And for those that don't pay attention, the Devils have only made the playoffs once in the last 10 years, and that's why just making the playoffs.
We wanted to sign Aaron Judge.
It's a big deal. Dolph fan up until last week could relate to Seth Everett, the Devils fan, because the Dolphins haven't had an exciting team in a long time. They've made the playoffs.
They're exciting. I like the Dolphins.
Twice in the last 15 years, and then all of a sudden you got the product they've got, and that's why they're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Yeah.
Next week on Sports with Friends, speaking of the NFL, next week is Scott Hansen, the kid from the Red Zone. I gotta find out how that thing works.
Well, also, you have to ask him if he's going to have a job going forward.
No, he'll have the job. Siciliano's the one that's not going to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Siciliano's got the DirecTV and Hanson. And I'm a Hanson guy, and I've been with DirecTV for 4 years, so I've had to make the switch on Sundays from one to the other, which makes no sense why they have to, but neither here nor there.
Well, and Siciliano, I graduated with him. You know, he's one of my close friends. Hanson, I'm just meeting next week.
Gotcha.
Well, what's on Sports with Friends this week?
A great guy, a longtime afternoon radio host in 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. Carl Dukes is there. Carl is a guy who was with Daryl Hamilton when I met Daryl, and was always a part of our radio show. And Carl and I sat together at the memorial for Daryl, so there's great stories about that. But also how doing sports talk in Atlanta, when the Atlanta Dream owner was going through that controversy and Herschel Walker and everything that was going on with that, how sports and politics literally cannot not intersect because of the sports connections to all of these. And it's a really interesting thing. The idea of sticking to sports in Georgia is impossible. And that's a cool topic. It was an interesting perspective from him.
Well, it's a topic that we've wrestled with here in the last handful of years, and we have tried desperately to keep the politics out of our conversation. We have acknowledged privately and publicly it's probably hurt us with ratings. Okay,
Right.
yeah, we would have lost some people, but it would have been more polarizing, and
Right.
that's how you get better ratings. But we opted to separate the two.
Right. Well, Carl is in a unique perspective because it was literally like the All-Star game moving to Colorado. Like,
Right.
that's a sports topic. And you can't say I'm skipping out because I want to stick to sports. That's where that podcast went. And I was fascinated to hear his perspective.
All right, got about 60 seconds. Hall of Justice text stream.
Hall of Justice is a big one. It's a tribute to the late, great Kevin Conroy, the original voice of the animated Batman. A lot of people think he's the preeminent voice of Batman. He's done it for 3 decades. We have Robin, Batgirl, Green Lantern, and Wonder Woman. The voice actors all came in to pay tribute to their fallen friend. It's a fantastic podcast. A lot of editing. It's a big one. Tech Stream is about streaming services and what we're watching. Just what's on and what are the things that aren't maybe getting as much publicity. I'm watching shows like The Outlaws and Kevin Can F Himself, and some of these shows are absolutely amazing.
I think the same thing about Kevin.
Yeah. Never liked Kevin.
Yeah. That's a great show with Annie Murphy from that show, Schitt's Creek.
Unbelievable. You are
She's-
just, you're really
I'm just pushing the envelope.
You are throwing it at us here
Yep.
in our last moments on air.
Yeah.
And you're trying to end our
Trying to see
affiliation with
exact-
3 stations, aren't you?
Trying to just see how far
Thanks.
I can go.
Well, don't go any further, okay? Or you can go F yourself. Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and Tech Stream. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Thanks, buddy.
See you guys.
Thanks, Seth.
Seth, for those that don't follow us on our Twitch channel, he wore an Everett, what is it? Aqua Sox jersey. Apparently Everett, Washington has a single-A baseball team. They're the Aqua Sox. So Seth Everett wearing an Everett jersey.
Wearing his namesake today across his chest, the Everett.
It's not about the name on the back of the jersey. It's about the name on the front of the jersey.
That's right. And it's Everett on the front of the jersey, not Aqua Sox for those roadies. Thanks, Seth. Miller and Moulton, the end of our syndicated portion of the broadcast is coming up in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, and Port Charlotte. We'll do it all again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. And the 239, the bonus hour, is next right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth. that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
We don't get any tickets anymore, Klecko. Since we're regional. Also, since we don't have a phone number, giving away tickets is awkward.
It can all be done via text, but we don't have any tickets to give away.
Yeah, Heyman jumped the shark last night, didn't he? Early in the evening, something about the Giants, 9 for 360.
Yeah. No, Klecko, not going to happen.
No, he's not doing anything with the tournament this year.
He's not doing anything with the tournament, and he won't do anything unless you're basically in bed with Live Golf. And while we're on a lot on the side of Live Golf, we wouldn't just sit there and kiss his ass. I'm not interested in that.
I got to be honest. If we ever get Greg again, I'd want to do an hour. He does like us.
I know.
No, Klecko, if he was going to be part of the tournament on site this year, he would have done an interview with us.
Don't know if he's going to be there. We're not going to be there, though. So the fact of the matter is that to get interviews, it was a lot easier when we did afternoons, quite frankly, because they were all there.
No, I think we'd have to be on site.
Oh, he did?
I thought he was trying to get rid of it, though. After the death of his wife, I thought he was getting rid of his Southwest Florida place.
And just doing Hawaii, right?
I thought so. But don't know if he did. Nope. I don't think so.
$15 seconds. Here we go. 10 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour, Miller and Moulton, on this day that will live in infamy, Wednesday, December 7th. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Aaron Judge stays with the Yankees for $40 million a year for the rest of the decade. So there, 9 for 360. Real easy math. It's over $100,000 a day for 9 years.
How was today? Today was a good day.
It was pretty good, actually. Really? What'd you do? Well, I went 0 for 4, struck out 3 times, hit into a double play, but I made $106,000.
I like Judge. I like Judge as a Yankee. I still wouldn't have done the deal. And I get why they did the deal. It's for the television network.
Yeah. Which, with that in mind, and you're a business guy, okay, and you know it's an overpay for what he's going to do on the diamond, but for the whole, company here, for the Yankees on yes, I mean,
what's better for the Yankees on yes? Aaron Judge and diminishing returns every year for the next 9, or winning a damn World Series? Can we stop with this legacy crap? If he's not going to win him a World Series, look, if he wins a World Series, then it's probably worth it. If they win a World Series in the next 9 years, in the next 6, because the final 3 wouldn't be his. If you know what I mean. He's not the star of those last 3-4 teams.
Right.
So if they don't win a World Series in the next 5 years, was this contract worth it?
I could argue yes. See, here's my problem, Mark. With most teams, a contract like this would legitimately prohibit them, like, the talk of Aaron Rodgers, making $51 million or whatever it is. Well, he's really hurting the Packers and their ability to get, they couldn't afford Devontae Adams, blah, 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 blah. Come on, this is the Yankees. Yeah, they're going to tax you. They are. You're the flipping Yankees. Okay, you mean to tell me there's nobody else there? I mean, they're apparently in the mix for Carlos Rodon. They should never be outbid for anybody. Anybody. Maybe the Dodgers and Mets. And I mean maybe. They should never be outbid for anybody.
Okay, if that's the case, then that's fine. But you've got Steinbrenner that's telling Cashman to play under a certain level of the tax, and then he's taking $40 million of it to get a guy who's will never have the season that he had last year. Ever.
I'm willing. Well, first off, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, heck, this could be like Bonds' year that he hit 73. He only had 1 year where he hit 50 or more. That was it. I mean, I don't know how many more times Judge is going to hit 40. Because also, what else did he do last year? He played over 150 games.
Bingo.
He had done that once. So I think, Mark, here's the other thing. The Mets crush Steinbrenner if he didn't sign Judge. The Yankee fans actually should thank the Mets, because I think the old Steinbrenner, pre-Steve Cohen, across the street, signing everybody that he can. All right. Steinbrenner could afford to do business a certain way, because also they were certainly winning more games than the team across the street. But now you got the team across the street puts a 101-win team on the field. All right. And they lose Jacob deGrom, and they go replace him with Justin Verlander at 43 a year. I mean, Steinbrenner in that market, he can't all of a sudden look like he's the New Jersey Devils. And if he loses Aaron Judge, he looks like he's the New Jersey Devils. Cashman wants to do business, wants to be pragmatic. Okay, Yankee fans should actually thank the Mets owner, because I'm telling you, Steinbrenner could not lose Aaron Judge over money.
Oh, okay. If that's the case, I'm going to take everything you said and say it's 100% true, which, by the way, I think most of it is. But if that's the case, then Hal's got to let the purse strings go for Cashman for the rest of it.
Yes, and don't you think, if I'm Steinbrenner and you're Cashman, and we just did a 4-year deal, don't you think this came up in which you said to me, listen, I wouldn't go 9,360, and that's apparently where we're going to have to go. But just so you know, Hal, if you're going to go 9,360, okay, we need to then go higher than you've been willing to go, because let me lay it all out for you and what have you. And all we're going to do is put the same team back on the field, which clearly wasn't good enough.
Which didn't have enough pitching.
Right. So Hal, just so you know, you get your press conference, you get the good headlines. Okay, enjoy it. I've been there. But just so you know, I need 30 more million than I've had lately. And I'll bet you it's already been agreed to. I think, Mark, you've got your money. Come on, like you couldn't get the money from me. I mean, I think you got it. I think Hal gave it to Brian.
Well, that's what we'll see. How is the rest of free agency going to go? How are the New York Yankees going to spend additional money? That's what I want to see. And David, look it. If you're right and they let Cashman go nuts, okay. I still don't ultimately like the deal.
I do think from a business standpoint, it will make sense. I think you're right. On the diamond, it's really difficult to justify that a guy getting $40 million a year for damn near a decade, at the end of the decade, from just a baseball point of view, you're going to go, well, that was worth it.
It's really simple. Win a World Series in the next 5 years, it's worth it. Period.
And also have a good postseason. Not only did they lose this postseason, Judge was not good in the postseason this year. Oh, by the way. And I will say, he certainly got the full perspective as to where he's working, because he put the year that he did on the board, and he struggled in the postseason, and they booed him walking back to the dugout. That's another reason why he looked at Hal and he said, every flipping dime. I hit 62, and 2 weeks later they were booing me. Every dime.
So Aaron Judge is essentially a Yankee for life.
Right.
That's what Hal wanted. That's what Hal gets. Aaron, I don't know if it's what he wanted, but he sure got it. The 360. He was getting it from somebody.
Yep.
And he ends up taking it from the New York Yankees.
Well, the word was out when deGrom on Friday night got his deal with Texas. And by Sunday, then the word was kind of as to what it was going to take for somebody to land Verlander. And by Sunday into Monday, the word was it's going to take 9 years to get Judge. So the word was out as to where the Giants were willing to go. They were willing to go 9. And what? A half a business day later, the Phillies go 11 for Trey Turner at 29 years of age. Yankees go 9 for 31-year-old Aaron Judge. You see a trend? Jacob deGrom gets 5 with a 6-year option. He turns 35 in the spring. See a trend?
Yeah, that one is baffling. The Rangers spending all that money on deGrom, a guy who can't pitch more than, I mean, how many starts will he make in 5 years for the Rangers?
Ooh. Well, an average number one starter would make in the 32 to 34 starts a year.
Right, he makes in the 15, 16 range.
Okay, so let's just be conservative. 32 times 5 is 160 potential starts.
Right.
Will he start 125 games?
David, will he start 100 games?
Well, I mean, I will say up until the last 2 years, he was pretty durable, but he's had a rough 2 years, and he's in his mid-30s. So there's no doubt. There's concern. So 25 starts is like 75% of the starts in a season. So if you think about that, okay. I mean, Mark, that's missing 6 weeks. I mean, 25 starts a year is missing a month and a half.
David, he won't get 25 starts next year.
Ooh. Now, see, I'll bet you the over on next year because he knows I got to live up to the money and the whole deal.
Done.
So are we doing 24 and a half or 25 and a half?
I'll give you 24 and a half. He makes 25 starts. I'll drive to Jacksonville and take you to lunch. But when he only starts 15 games, you can drive here and take me to dinner.
Why? Wait, dinner? You're doing lunch? I got to do dinner?
I said when it's only 15 starts. When it's 10 under.
Fair enough. Okay, so if it's under 25, if it's between 15 and 24, I owe you lunch. All right? If it's 25 or more, you owe me lunch. 15 or less, I owe you dinner.
He starts 30 games, I'll take you to Ruth's Chris.
Wow. That's probably because you want to go too. But all right. That's fine. That's fine.
This is going to be a disaster for the Texas Rangers.
But what is interesting, though, also is now 40s become the new 35. I mean, Verlander's 39. He's got a 2-year deal with a 3rd-year option.
Big difference here. Verlander came back from Tommy John surgery, won the Cy Young, and pitched the whole damn year.
I understand.
deGrom came back and gets hurt.
I know. I'm just saying, I was just talking about the certain age that people are, and in that sport right now, they're seemingly unafraid to throw around major coin. Now, granted, the teams that right now are doing it are a couple of New York teams and a Philadelphia team. So, but one would think we're going to get the West Coast teams with money who are going to chip in here real soon.
Hey, the Padres have their hand up saying, when can we start spending? We are not afraid to spend money.
No, they wanted Trey Turner. They finished second on Trey Turner. So it is interesting, though, Mark, how, whatever reason, no, I'll pay you till you're 40. 40? It was 3 years ago that a 33-year-old guy was old. What happened?
Tom Brady is what happened. The fountain of youth for all sports now. And they are following along, signing big deals to guys until they're 40 years old. Who would have thunk it? Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening right here. Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
The Athletics saying the Padres made a big late push for Judge. Well, David, I see it coming because you know how much I don't listen to pop music. But the daughter in the after school, they play the kids bop stuff. So all of a sudden she's got songs. I don't like them.
Oh, Lord. They're awful.
Don't talk to me. Your music sucks too.
Kids Bop is terrible.
Felipe, your whole generation of music sucks, in my opinion. You've had 22 years of shitty music.
I disagree respectfully.
I know you do.
I know there's been a lot of bad music.
No, there's been mostly bad.
Mm.
I just went through a thing in The Athletic. They had an article of basically the arena songs of the best arena song of the last 50 years each year.
Arena songs.
Songs that are played at games.
Okay.
No. It went through all, and I'm just going through everything from 2000 on when the music changes, when rock ended and it became a hip hop world. I don't think the world's a better place. It's an old man's opinion. There's nothing you could say or do to change my mind. Nothing.
The songs that are played in warm-ups of an NBA game are different than they used to be, but they are way more hyped. They do a better job at hyping up players. They make you bounce. They make you jump.
Makes me want to take ecstasy and go find a good-looking girl. That's what that sound does, okay?
Is
It doesn't make me
a
want to
bad
bounce.
thing? Is that a bad thing? You want to feel loose in the warm-ups, hopping around, jumping around, getting ready. It's game time. Music I'm referring to is trap music.
Why don't you send me a playlist of all your...
Okay, I have a playlist called Dribble Moves, by the way. You have Apple Music?
I do have Apple Music.
Okay.
And Yinzer, I like hip hop. Like, I love Kendrick Lamar. That's a newer hip hop guy. Not anymore, but
we're coming back.
That's a Phillies generation.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Good show lined up for you tomorrow. Roy Cummings will join us. Dr. Roto will join us. Somebody from Pro Football Network will join us. And we'll probably have a guest to talk about all the money being thrown around in baseball. In case you're just joining us, Aaron Judge re-signs with the Yankees. 9 for $360. 40 a year. There we go. Highest AAV, which is, average annual, value of any position player. Trout's AAV, because they kind of threw an extension on top of what was left was his existing deal, and so it's $35.5 million for Trout. Mookie Betts signed, I think, for just less than that, plus a good chunk of his contract's deferred when he signed the long-term deal with the Dodgers. Harper signed that 13-year, what was it, like $325, something like that. So it comes to around $25 a year, actually, which, that's why they did 13 years, to make it as quote-unquote affordable as possible. So you got Scherzer and Verlander pitching for the Mets at 43 per, and then the third highest paid player, Mark, is Aaron Judge for one more year.
Saw a great meme of Bobby Bonilla, and it said the Verlander, Scherzer, and Bonilla make up $87 million of the Mets payroll this year. I love the deferred money.
I got to admit, and I love what the Bobby Bonilla contract has become. And there are actually others out there like it.
Yes.
Like, the Nats have signed a couple of guys. I mean, Scherzer's going to be getting money from the Nats like in the 2030s because he signed for $30 million a year for 7 years, but only 15 of it was up front per year. So that's $105 million deferred. I mean, he's going to get paid from the Nats from like 2025 through 2040. Unfortunately for the Nats, when they re-signed Strasburg after winning the World Series, and he's gotten hurt, and we have no idea if he'll ever pitch again. And if he does, I doubt he'll ever be close to what he was. And they signed him to a huge $25-30 million a year deal, and half of that's deferred.
Yeah, whoever buys that team's got a lot of salary to pay in the 2030s. That's
exactly
the guys that played in the 2020s. And 20 teams, for that matter.
And Mike Caruso, the GM's going to have to say to the owners, hey, this is what the old guy wanted. You can't blame me for this. You blame the guy you bought it from. But I say Aaron Judge is the highest paid position player this year because we all know who's getting paid next year. Ohtani.
And we now know he's not going to be a Yankee because they spent all that money on Aaron Judge.
Right. Exactly.
You know, the fact of the matter is it's, even if the Yankees went and signed another big contract, aren't the Padres the team with the most big contracts?
Well, they've got Machado.
Right.
They got Tatis.
Right.
Who else am I missing? They're going to probably, well, they haven't signed him yet.
Right.
But yes, in order to keep him away from the East Coast, they are going to have to pay that man.
And they were a last bid in the Judge sweepstakes. Apparently, they never got their final bid to him, but the story's out that in the 11th hour, they tried to get their final bid to Aaron Judge as well. Hey, you got to like it. It's San Diego, for crying out loud. This isn't the Dodgers. This isn't the Yankees. This isn't the Mets. It's the Padres spending money.
All right.
Like they have it.
So they are throwing some coin around in that sport. And there'll be a few guys here in the next 12 months which they're going to throw some more coin too.
And baseball should be fired up because they've been throwing money around, as David would say, like manhole covers the last couple of years. So to see a free agency boom right at the beginning of free agency, if you're a baseball fan, you should be fired up.
The other thing that's happened is a number 3/4 starter is making around 17 a year. That's the price on the free agent market anyway of doing business. Jamison Talion got 4 for 17 per yesterday from the Cubs. Juwan Walker got 4 for 18 per from the Phillies. By the way, I like that deal for the Phillies. He's a good pitcher. He's a middle of the rotation guy. He's a 3/4, but he's more than a strikeout per inning. All right. He's a guy who, healthy, Mark, is the type of pitcher you want in the playoffs. He can miss bats. All right. I think he's a 3-4 playoff starter as well, not just a regular season arm. So I like that sign. I like actually what the Phillies have done. NL East, between the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies. I mean, honestly, if you're the Marlins, don't you have to petition to, can we realign, please? Please? When the hell are they going to win? They're like Purdue in the Big Ten West, and they're getting rid of divisions. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, but there's no reason why the Miami Marlins shouldn't be able to spend money.
Oh, I agree with that.
There's no reason. So I get what you're saying, but it's not like they're the Kansas City Royals in the middle of nowhere.
But I will say in that division, though, if you were to analyze the markets combined with ownership, they'll always be the last payroll team in the division.
Especially when the Nats are sold and they start getting back into the business of playing baseball at a high level.
Right. And the Nats have said, because the Nats were top 5 in payroll for a decade, but they said, hey, we're tearing it down, we're rebuilding, and that means we're going to have a bunch of cheap guys. But once we get good, we're going to buy good players again. Don't kid yourself.
So a little hot stove talk.
Spending money. I mean, listen, not even NFL fan, when they hear 9 for 360, they go, well, damn. That's, $43 million for a pitcher. Well, that's like buying a quarterback. Whatever.
Speaking of quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield claimed off waivers by the Rams, sent the playbook, and told you may play Thursday night.
At which point he said, I'm sorry, what day is this?
And what team are you again?
They said it's Tuesday night. You're with the Rams. We play in Los Angeles, by the way. We left St. Louis quite a few years ago. Wait, what?
Essentially being on 3 NFL rosters in one football season.
I know.
That's tough to do.
Especially for a quarterback. I mean, certainly puts the word journeyman next to your name very quickly. Very quickly.
First overall pick to journeyman in a season.
Boom. How was 2022 for you? Oh, it was flipping great. Great. I went from a franchise quarterback to a journeyman. How was your year?
No more progressive commercials for Baker.
That's true.
No, he needs a moving and storage company to start packing for him.
Exactly. U-Haul.
U-Haul. Sponsor him.
Wow. It has been a rough year for Baker Mayfield, and I hope for his sake he doesn't have to play Thursday, but I will say I had no interest, David. I don't know if I was going to watch a play Thursday night. The chance that Baker Mayfield may be on the field could cause me to turn on Amazon Prime, at least for a moment.
Well, in that case, you have to keep watching it too, because the likelihood of him playing is in the second half. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right. Who was it who asked about the annual salary here? All right, KW. I did not look this up. My guess is Anthony Rendon. Third baseman, Angels. He's been injured for 2 years, making $35 per. What's the answer?
That's a good guess.
Because when he won the World Series for the Nats, okay. Oh, Strasburg. Yeah, but he didn't play last year. I didn't think he'd count. Rendon last year had a 3.5 WAR.
Wasn't Rendon out for most of last year also?
Yeah. How did that?
I think he played, like the time that he played well, but it wasn't for long. Hey, Jonathan Isaac is 25. The last time he played an NBA game when he was 22 years old.
Naples good.
Play basketball, please. I tried this new coconut water energy drink over the weekend called Prime. Only 10 milligrams of sodium. And
Logic. Yeah.
Go for it. Go for it.
Logic Man, it is interesting how the Red Sox do not have a good feeling about Dave Dombrowski, and yet he won a World Series when he was their GM. It's funny. By the way, Felipe, let me ask you this question. My mother used to throw this on me. Your generation's music.
Mhm.
My mother used to ask this of me when I was your age. And she would say, do you think your generation's music is going to be played on oldies radio, if you will?
Oh,
And I used to say to her all the time, yes. I defended my generation's music. Okay. Do you think your generation's music, a generation from now, is going to be played on the stations that are playing Mark and my generation's music?
so I want to say yes, but I am hesitant because a lot of it has a lot more cussing compared to your music, for
Correct.
example. So there's a lot of cussing, but I still think that there are songs that they will play a clean version just because of how
it would be
iconic and memorable they
First
are.
off, radio would have to still be around.
That is
And
true.
I'm not joking around. Secondly, there has to be a genre for it because old poppy music, there aren't a lot of stations that played old poppy music. They play old classic rock. They don't play old pop. Sirius going to have Rock the Bells.
Oh, they play like early 2000s pop. Scrubs. I don't want no scrubs.
You're not allowed to sing anymore.
And they play like Usher and stuff like that. Like, I don't know.
I'm just wondering, Felipe, like your generation as a whole's music. Like, yeah, there's going to be, pick this, and this. And I could see you on like a Bob FM in 15 years, that stuff being played, the choice cuts. But I don't see 21st century music being on an oldies channel, if you know what I mean. Where we're, our music comes from 2000 through 2022.
We'll see. I mean, I will be the dad bumping March Madness by Future, Dirty Soda, and the Styrofoam on the way to school. Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. It's our final segment of the day. Top of the hour in 22 minutes. We're out of here in 17. Good show lined up for you tomorrow. Dr. Roto answering your fantasy football questions as you gear up for the playoffs. Roy Cummings talk about Tom Brady pulling victory from the jaws of defeat. Our weekly guest from someone with Pro Football Network, usually Matt Canada. And my guess is we're going to have to book a baseball guest for tomorrow, Mark, because they're spending money like they got it. At least they are in the Northeast between the Yankees, the Mets, and the Phillies. And our guess is, well, some of those West Coast teams will get involved the rest of today and tomorrow just out of jealousy.
I hope so. Makes for a lot better offseason. I mean, last year we were waiting. David, it seemed as if we were waiting forever for someone to start the frenzy of signing. This year, we haven't had the wait. And a lot of it, because the big players, the marquee players with Judge out there and multiple teams getting after him, it started it early, and snowballed from that. So been a great offseason thus far in baseball, no doubt.
If you missed it, Aaron Judge re-signs with the Yankees $4 million per. 9 for $360. Thank you very much. 9 for $360. Signed through the decade, through 2030. Yeah. How about that, huh? In fact, 2031, they got him for 40 per. And here's the thing, the sobering reality. The Yankees didn't get better today. Today was just all about status quo. Now they still got to go out and get some guys.
Right, because the team that played the first however many games last year that tore it up was not the team that finished the season.
They went 50-20 in their first 70, and they were what? A handful of games above 500 the rest of the year, including the playoffs?
Which seemed more like the team that was in the postseason.
Right. I mean, 70 games, here's our sample. 105 games, here's our sample. Which one as a GM are you going to go with?
And we think the GM went with the second sample, but the owner went with the first sample. I mean, we really do.
Well, the owner said, listen, whatever we do on the field is fine. Every night we're on yes, okay? When we're on the road, we're on yes. I'm paying Aaron Judge for my television network, okay? You put him in the lineup wherever the hell you want to.
But I'd prefer that he still bats first so he gets as many at-bats on yes as is humanly possible.
Right. Top 3 would be ideal, okay, until he gets really bad. But then come to think of it, Jeter's last year, he batted second. So I'd prefer if he bats in the top 3.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Delaware, David. Delaware.
I beg your pardon?
Today in 1787 that Delaware becomes the first state to ratify the U.S. Constitution. That's why they're number 1.
Okay.
1808, James Madison is elected our 4th president. What I didn't know the vice presidents back then, but George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic were the vice president.
Wow. He looks really good.
1836, Martin Van Buren elected the 8th president of the U.S. 1930, the PGA championship was held on December the 7th, David.
Was it in Florida? Is that why? Arizona? Was it because
I got to see where Fresh Meadows CC was at. And by the looks of it, that's in Queens. So it must have been a blistery day when Tommy Armour holds off Gene Sorensen 1-up for the second of his 3 major titles.
Man, PGA of America must have been honked off at their own members.
No wonder Sorensen wanted to get to Marco Island. It was cold, for crying out loud.
Right.
Today in 1937, the Red Sox acquire the contract of a 19-year-old by the name of Ted Williams. I think that would work out all right. Today in 1941, Pearl Harbor. I don't know what else we need to say. As David has said throughout the show, a day that will live in infamy. Today in 1963, David, was the first use of instant replay. Army, Navy, done by CBS. Today in 67, Otis Redding records Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. It would be number 1 after he had perished. 1972, Apollo 17 launched the final manned lunar landing mission where the crew takes the famous blue marble photo of the entire Earth. 1985, Bo Jackson wins his Heisman.
Very, very close vote. I think it's still, to this day, top 3, maybe top 2 closest votes over Iowa quarterback Chuck Long.
Jerry Garcia died in August, but it was today in 95 that the Dead announced that they were breaking up because of the death of Jerry Garcia.
Well, Mark, they thought about it. They were on drugs. They needed to chill out, sober up. Then they realized, what are we doing?
Yeah, then they said this whole Dead thing works. Why don't we go to the Dead and Company and do that for another 15 years and see how much money we can make off of those tours? 1996, the first Big 12 championship game, Texas beats Nebraska 37-27. Nebraska was number 3 in the country at the time. And in 2020, Bob Dylan sells his entire songwriting catalog of more than 600 songs to Universal for over $300 million. Or as we like to say, a little less than Aaron Judge money.
Right.
Those born today that are no longer with us. The great Ted Knight and wrestler Ravishing Rick Rude. Those celebrating birthdays, Johnny Bench is 75. Singer Tom Waits is 73. Larry Bird is 66. NHL coach Peter Laviolette is 58. Terrell Owens is 49, and golfer Billy Horschel is 36. And that, David, is today was the day when.
There's a few things going on today. Ocean's 11, by the way, the remake, debuted in theaters today 21 years ago. That's how old that, there's a lot of hell of a cast. I just realized it was 21 years ago. A sports note from today. I forgot about this fight. Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran, the third time they fought. It was today in 89. I had to look up who won. It was Leonard by 12-round decision.
You forget that was a trilogy.
I did. I just figured they, the two fights in same year. And it's not like Duran was washed up. I think earlier in the year in 89, I thought he fought the fight of the year against Iran Barkley. But that's all I got.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
All right. I neglected the good a little bit, but I've got something here that I'm going to substitute because this is why we need gambling in the state of Florida. Today in Scottsdale, the PGA Tour announced that they are opening their first sports book at the TPC Scottsdale, where they host the Waste Management Phoenix Open, a 12,000 square foot in-person sports book on the golf course. That's what we're missing, folks. That's what we're missing. For the bad, we go to Marathon, where a Florida man stole $1,375 in toothbrushes from a Walgreens. That's right, $1,400 worth of toothbrushes. Employees and other witnesses saw Tracy Mayfield of Isla Morada walk out the store with 6 electric toothbrushes without paying for them. He drove off in his Lexus. Sheriff's office followed him, but he sped away. They didn't pursue due to safety concerns. They spotted him again, and that's when he threw all the toothbrushes off the Long Key Bridge. He was booked and charged with grand theft. I mean, I like the guy's effort in hygiene. Don't want a lot of halitosis out there, but I'm not sure why 6 toothbrushes were necessary. 1 would have gotten the job done. And finally, an all-time ugly, I would even recommend perhaps not letting the children listen if they're in the car.
Uh-oh.
There's your disclaimer, David.
Wow, we haven't had one of them in a while.
We go to Clearwater, where Chad Mason was caught by a resident of apartment complex canoodling with an animal. He was confronted. Then he became combative and erratic. Then he entered the Northwood Presbyterian Church, broke several potted plants, and knocked down the nativity display before fleeing to another neighborhood. Then he destroyed a mailbox and attempted to steal cars before officers arrived on the scene and arrested him. Chad needs help, and that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, December the 7th, 2022.
I'm glad you gave the disclaimer. Thank you for that. Association Magic in action tonight. They're losing to the Clippers at home. The ESPN double dip. Atlanta and the Knicks. I don't know why they think people want to see that matchup. That's only an Atlanta and a New York thing. The nightcap at 10 o'clock is Boston and Phoenix. Now I'm intrigued. I got a college hoop game for you. I actually got two. The Gators are a home dog tonight, nationally televised, ESPN2, 9 o'clock, against UConn. UConn's a 4.5-point favorite in the O-Dome. I might take a flyer on the Gators tonight. Just one of those December, going on the road. I could see the Gators getting them. Also, Mark, these two Florida schools off to really good starts. FGCU 7-2. They beat FIU the other day. They hadn't beaten FIU in 4 or 5 years. They travel to FAU tonight, and they're getting 8.5. FAU is 7-1. That's a team that plays defense this year, FGCU. All right. And you're getting 8.5 on the road. By the way, ESPN's analytics only gives them a 22% chance to win the Eagles tonight. But
looks like you give them a little more chance.
I like
They're in
them
the
with
33% range from what it sounds like.
Yeah, I like them with the 8.5. I do. Because they defend. Like FIU came in averaging just a boatload of points, and FGCU held them to like low mid 60s. So I don't know. I think I like the points tonight. And that's a pretty salty game.
Handful of NHL games tonight. The best two are probably the Bruins at the Lanch. That starts at 9, and the Rangers are at Vegas.
Yeah, Rangers have a stretch coming up here, and they're on the outside of the playoffs looking in. They got Vegas. They got Colorado. They got a 4-game stretch here where it's like, yeah, there's no cheap ones here, boys.
And we'll see how Colorado plays without McKinnon here for a little while. Key part of that team, obviously, as they are hosting the Bruins, who finally lost at home. That in a shootout, by the way, against Vegas the other night. That could have been a Stanley Cup final preview.
See, this is when I thought they were going to play the match. Like they're playing it, what is it? Is it Saturday night? They're playing the match. See, I thought this would be the middle of this week, I thought would be the perfect time to do the match. And I'm wondering if Turner just said, sorry, can't do it. We got the NBA on Thursday. I don't know. But I thought tonight would be a good night for them to do the match.
Sure. I mean,
listen, it is Tiger. I mean, I don't care about the match. But, I mean, let's be honest. We have no idea how many more times we're going to see Tiger Woods play golf.
No, and that's why, and David, that's why the match means less to me, because that's not how I want my final viewing of Tiger Woods to be in this made-for-television stupid event. I'd rather see him the way, even, I was lucky enough to see Gary Player's last putt at Augusta. I think he shot 80-72, and he missed the cut, but he shot 72 on a Friday. Happened to be with my buddy, my one and only trip to Augusta, and we watched Gary Player on 18. That's how you go out. You make a par on 18 at Augusta, and then we don't see you again. I just seeing Tiger on the match doesn't do it for me.
Remember, he'll get to drive a cart, so that leg, which obviously is damaged and will be forever. I mean, he even said so. He said, I only got so much golf left on this leg. I mean, in theory, this should be about as good as it can be for him playing golf. So that's why I mention it. But it's Saturday night, I think. I'm wondering if it'll just get lost in the shuffle.
Boy, it's a bad TV night.
It's a lot of Christmas parties Saturday night. I mean, let's make it happen night. I mean, come on now.
Hey, I've got a Christmas party and hopefully make it happen night on Saturday. It's a big night. I don't know how we can sneak the match into all of that.
Although your wife does like Tigers. So, I mean, if it's not going well, put it on the tube. Then go and find a red golf shirt and see what happens.
a whole new kind of hole-in-one. Miller and Moulton. We thank you so much for listening. We'll do it all over again tomorrow morning right here at 6 a.m.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. And